Trainers, you know what day it is today. It is the Lion City League Season 2 Pokemon Unite, the second qualifier. My name is MJ, your gym leader for today, and I'm excited to present to you our new partner, Darren Stewart Academy. Guys, we can finally play for free in LCL. So, of course, we know our usual partners, Prism Plus and Poke Unite Singapore, along with our organizers, the three big cats, all of them uniting to bring to you a format that welcomes players from all ages and all skill levels. So today we are going to see the second qualifier, and we will have a third and final qualifier in May. During these qualifiers, the teams accumulate points to be one of the top 8 competing in the championships in June, which is an offline in-person event, so do watch out for that, guys. And of course, just for today, we have the prize pool for the second qualifier, which is worth $600. And today's game, we will see which teams will place in the respective divisions. We have Elite, Master, and Challenger. And tomorrow, the champion of the Elite division will walk away with 10 LCL points and $200. So there are 11 teams for today's qualifier format. We will see 3 groups, or rather 4 groups, battle it out in the best of 3. And the first place in each group will go to the Elite, all the second placers will go to the Masters, and all the third placers today will be in the Challenger tomorrow, and we will see them fight it out. Again, today is just the second qualifier, and we have one last one in May, so don't miss out on that, guys. Darren Stewart Academy has already sponsored all future registration fees for LCL. So if you play Pokemon Unite or even FIFA or Halo Infinite, head on over to our socials, the Lion City League, and sign up and follow us. And of course, every registration will qualify for a Prism Plus monitor lucky draw, which will be drawn in the championships on June. So we will see you guys there. Oh, guys, you know what that means. We have a new caster, and it is none other than Permasneeze. Mike Permasneeze.
Wow, that was. Did you plan that? That was perfect. Yo, somebody give her a raise. That's why we got a host here. What the heck? What is that intro? Nice to meet you. I've been a big fan of Lion City League for a while, ever since it was introduced. They kind of looped me in on it, and I've been waiting to cast it. So this is really exciting for me to be here.
Right, and we are glad to have you, Mike. And of course, you guys know she not only climbs ranks, she also climbs rocks. It is none other Rox Artisan.
Hi.
Rox, you've done this before. Can you tell Mike what's about to go down today?
Well, I think, from the previous LCL, we had a lot of very exciting matches, and I think that's what we're going to see today. Not to mention, like what you said, right? We have 11 teams, so it's really nice to see that new teams are joining us here at the Lion City League, and I hope that they have a lot of fun as well.
Yep, and we are definitely looking forward to that team. So without further ado, let's look at Group A. We have the Royal Flush and Star 9. Of course, we've seen them last qualifier, but we have a newcomer here today, here for the free gift. And then for Group B, we also have a newcomer. For Group B, we have the Pokeballers and Himochi, but it is the first time we'll see Snacks in Lion City League Season 2. All right, let's head on over to the Pokemon selection. Rox, what do we see here?
Well, the first round will be between Divinity and Renaissance, and the game is already going to start. As we can see, the bands that they have chosen are the Absol, the Duraludon, the Lucario, as well as the Talonflame. So I think specifically the ban of Absol is very strategic, right? Because both teams are known to use Absol to very good use, and I think that's a very specific kind of ban that they have decided to go for as well.
Right. Mike, did you manage to catch a glimpse of what just happened in the selection?
Absolutely not. I'm gonna catch a glimpse now, though.
All right, let's start with Divinity versus Renaissance. Take it away, guys.
First of all, Rox, what a way to start the Lion City League match. Like, let's rush straight into the juiciest matchup of all. I mean, if you know, you know. Divinity versus Renaissance, they go way, way back. These players have been around since the formation of PUSG, and I'd argue to say these players are some of the pillars of the community as well. All very skilled players in their own right, and always within the big 3 of the Singaporean teams.
Yeah, and I think we have very notable players on both teams, right? Like you said, they are from like all the way back from season one, and we definitely see a little bit of like the aggressiveness of play that comes with experience here. Just in the bottom lane already, there is already some action.
Yeah, I mean, that's some Blissey on
Oh.
Blissey aggression there as they take him down. But so far, winner seems to be that Bulbasaur on the Renaissance side. Meanwhile, Divinity, though, they're gonna have Chani all the way up here. So, first of all, we have so much to talk about, right? We kind of got rushed into this game, but look at the compositions. What is going on? Kamiru on that jungle Gardevoir is not something that we are averse to. But Sana playing that Haunter in with the Will-O-Wisp, trying to make some early aggression happen. And how do you counter a Gardevoir? It's the ghost types, baby. Sana is here to play and jumps right on top of them, takes down 2 Pokemon and opens the path for Divinity.
Yes, I think seeing a Gengar in one of the competitions is honestly not something we see every single day. But this is really where like the double bans actually come into play here, and we get to see a larger variety of Pokemon in play. And this Gengar is no exception. And I guess with its burst attack that it has, it is really able to close in on some of the Pokemon that we saw just now on Renaissance side, and they need to be very careful.
Yeah, so the composition on the side of Renaissance isn't all cookie cutter either, right? We have a Alolan Ninetales, Gardevoir, as well as a Venusaur in terms of the DPS Pokemon on their side. What is this composition trying to achieve? Because I have no clue.
Well, I think we've definitely seen the Blissey and Venusaur combination in a lot of previous games in the previous season as well, and I think that is kind of what they want to be doing. Having this frontline dinosaur with the pocket support right with him, for very long, sustained team fights. At the same time, kind of like with the Gardevoir, right, a lot of burst damage from the back lines to make sure that, Divinity cannot really choose to group up or kind of split up too much as well because of these two main Pokemon like Venusaur and the Gardevoir.
I mean, they're not having any issue cutting through them right now as Sana, the Gengar, just jumps right on top of them, ticking low to the buff, and it's gonna get the last touch off. Kamiru starting to clean up here. That's 2 KOs for the side of Renaissance on the top side. As right, he's forced to back away. And I really do have to say, rebounds on this Ninetales is not something I thought I would see. Rebounds, famous Absol player, right? And he usually is on the other side of the coin. He's the one hunting these Ninetales down. Now he's kind of putting himself in their shoes.
Yeah, I think Divinity had a best. Oh, look at the Dreadnought fight might be happening. Ooh.
Yeah, very okay. They only kind of get one, but they managed to scare the Dreadnought. Sada jumps straight into that, and now KST left alone on his little island. This is not the beach vacation that he wanted. Yang gonna start the chase down with the pedal dance, and they're gonna dance their way all the way up to this tier 1 goal zone. Poor little Blissey can't do anything, forced to turn tail and run, and the Hoopa Portal gonna get them all nice and healthy. They're not done. They go the base, take a little sip of that nice little regeneration, and then come back and have some more. They still are on a rampage here. Sada right back into getting KO'd yet again. Yang starting to fall low, the shields coming out from the bunny barriers, just in time to keep that Ivysaur alive. Another dunk in. Renaissance, they're really starting to put on the pressure here as they're just herding the side of Divinity back to their base.
So
However,
much
pretty strong
action.
showing. They're not done. Venusaur evolves, Burden Anger out, Battle Dance Shield, he's out. Renaissance, they get away with daylight robbery there, just swooping all the way up and shoving themselves right under Divinity.
That was like some intense, crazy long fight right there. I wasn't really expecting that this early in the game, and not to mention the first round of the Lion City League, and both teams did so well there. Renaissance with the ability to get the Dreadnought tries to go for the overdunk, but Divinity already with enough levels to actually use some Unite moves on them, kind of managed to defend a little bit from there, and that's just like what we want to see, right? We want to see both teams really fight it all out, and now even looking at the levels, it is quite even.
I think the biggest thing for me is that I feel like Sana, he had such a great start on that Gengar early on, right? He was able to get so many KOs in this top side and apply a lot of pressure. Then suddenly they just, Divinity, it kind of feel like they got a bit caught up or flustered or something. They just kept running into the ball of Renaissance, and the ball of Renaissance were rolling. Like you said, with this Venusaur leading the charge, Yang, he's been playing this Pokemon for a long time. I'm sure I've called his name before on this Pokemon. Okay, trying to get Lays. Nice little try at the steal there, but the only thing gonna be taken away is the Blissey from the side of Divinity. He's gonna get knocked out. Meanwhile, some action in the bot side as they pot straight down to the Dreadnought. Do they get it for themselves again? Judging from the shields, absolutely. The Blissey is the one to secure it. And now Divinity, they're starting to fall apart here as Renaissance. They've really formed a resurgence here and they're controlling the entirety of the stadium. They're not done. They still want to keep pushing this bot side. It seems to be their home. They don't want to go anywhere. They even have a portal to bring them back. And just the safety. And they'll be fine. They can't keep getting away with this.
You know, Renaissance just getting all over this map with the help of this Hoopa. Hoopa already at level 10 with the Unite move. You know, they just rotate from top lane to bottom lane, top lane to bottom lane for all the different objectives, and it really shows that they are dominating in this game right now.
Yeah, I mean Renaissance, this is a bit of a weird comp like we said, right? But the CC from the lone Ninetales stopping them from coming any further to stopping Kamiru, and the Rings Unbound now from Jesby. They're still holding the tier 1 though. The Gengar has found the Hoopa on the backside and the Rings Unbound is over. Now NT in the thick of it all. Kamiru dropping a little bit low, but still on the front lines is Yang, overpowering KST and overpowering the side of Divinity. This Venusaur just does not drop for a moment. They just managed to turn that around even though they lose their Hoopa. And man, Yang is level 13.
Yeah, and this means that he has his last power spike, and you can see it already. The Petal Dance AoE is so large, and this is going to be very hard for Divinity to catch them, right? I mean, most of the Pokemon, if not all of them, are actually melee Pokemon. I mean, even Venusaur might be ranged, but it's using Petal Dance. It wants to be at the front lines, and this Venusaur on Renaissance right now is going to be such a threat to every single Pokemon on the side of Divinity.
Yeah, I think all along, right, we knew this Machamp and the Gengar, they all need to get in range to do damage. But when Yang is such a beefy wall of just pure pain, how can you even make it to Kamiru? How can you even make it to the Ninetales? You just don't. By the time you reach them, you're just one skill away or one move away from dropping the portal down. They want to control both sides of the map, and they've been doing it perfectly so far. No sign of stopping now. The pressure is mounting for Divinity. They need to make something happen, but they can't seem to. There's a 50 dunk on the top side, but that is not going to amount to much. Once again, they've left the Blissey to try and steal it, but Blissey is not the Pokemon to steal these objectives. You see someone like a Gengar or Machamp, they're going to opt for the Rotom instead, so they do at least manage to secure that one objective for themselves, and right now, it's the final stretch, Artie. They really need to bank this in. Okay, so nice little dunk just in time from Rife there. Gets an 80 in, so it evens out just for now, but there's still 70 down. How can they approach this fight?
Well, Renaissance already has a very strong positioning in the Zapdos pit, and they are still in the lead even though Divinity kind of got it. And oh, it looks like Hoops Unbound has already been popped, and the fight is going to break out already.
Yeah, I mean, the first person going to be popped is Lane. No, manages to get away, but not with the very singularity. Catches onto 3. They managed to break down both backliners, but now here comes the melee Pokemon that we're talking about. Immediately mopped up is this Machamp. So is the Venusaur, and Yang, he just cleans up shop. There comes the Gengar, trying to do what he can, still trying to lurk around, but there is the surrender immediately. Divinity, they know when they're beat, and Renaissance, they just swoop that right from under them in after like what looked to be a pretty disastrous early game for them. It looked like Rive was rolling, Sana was rolling, but then Yang, you know, he just stood firm as that bastion and took him to town.
Yeah, that was really one of the more exciting fights already, and I'm just so glad we got to kind of see this in the first round. I think we have a lot more exciting matches to go into afterwards, but I also think, you know, this is the first match of like the best of 3, right? And like you said, you know, it looked like Divinity kind of had the early game in the bag, but unfortunately that wasn't able to translate into the mid and late games where, you know, Renaissance just overpowered them in getting the objectives, and in terms of like the rotation that they had with the Hoopa allowed them to do so many things at one time, and I guess Divinity just couldn't find an angle to go into this.
The biggest thing for me definitely was that push in the bot side, right? We saw them understand they were strong as a unit. They rolled in and steam train just running straight through the bottom track. And Divinity, it looked like they weren't prepared for that. And true enough, we see in their Pokemon as well, Machamp and Gengar, yeah, sure, they bring a lot of pick-off and a lot of assassination potential, but they don't do so well into these death balls, right? And we saw them repeatedly go in and in again, and that was ultimately to their demise.
Yes, I think it really comes down to how Divinity, you know, kind of engages into the team fight. I think a lot of times the Gengar itself, the main attacker on the side of Divinity, just got caught off guard and on its own. And when it's on its own, it's just not able to do as much as it needs to, because a lot of the Pokemons on the side of Renaissance, they just kind of went straight for this Gengar, and because of that, the Gengar just couldn't do anything. Even with a full heal or even with a Blissey, you're just not able to kind of like get out of this crowd control.
Actually, looking at the whole score at the end, right? It was the lead wasn't that much, but we saw the whole game where Renaissance was actually merciless against Divinity. So are we gonna see a different strategy for this next game? Because it is a best of 3. What do you say, Mike?
I think they're gonna have to, because I mean, the thing is, it was working out for them from the start, but you know, they need to kind of, if they still want to run this strategy, they need to better answer the death ball that's coming their way. Whether that comes in the
Yep.
way of splitting up on the map, right? Whether you want to devote purely the Machamp or the Gengar to try and pick off the backliners who are straggling, it's not gonna come in the way of just jumping straight back into your own demise. That's all I'm saying. I feel like that was just a crucial slip up for them. I don't think they played bad. That's the thing. It just kind of went out of control way too fast.
Right. All right. Because we missed out the brackets previously when we jumped straight to the match. Let's look at what the rest of the groups have in store for us. In group, we have already seen Group A. We have Here for the Free Gift as a newcomer. And in the next group, we have Pokeballers and Kimochi, with, of course, Snack being a newcomer in LCL. And for Group C, of course, we have Divinity and Renaissance with Team Rocket, which we will see later on. They're also new to LCL for this qualifier, but we're definitely gonna see them in the next match. And last but not least, we have Group D, which is Pokepuff Girls and NSV. You guys, you know, I personally rooted for NSV in the previous qualifier, but Pokepuff Girls seems like such a huge, you know, like opposites, you know, from NSV. Rox, what are your thoughts in all the groupings?
Well, I think, you know, LCL, the main point of LCL is that we wanted to get the pros playing as well, but we also want the casuals as well. And it's very nice to see that there are more teams joining us in this second edition of the Lion City League. And I think, you know, it's just very exciting to see. And wow, okay, we already have like the next game kind of ready. It will be the
Right.
second game between Divinity and Renaissance.
Yep. Are we gonna see a game number 3 for this? You know, hopefully Divinity already knows how to respond to Renaissance this time round. Mike, what are your thoughts?
I just think that, you know, if we don't see a game 3, I'm not gonna lie, you know, I'm not biased. I'm not taking sides here. But I just gotta say, these are 2 of the big 3 teams, right? It would be a shame if any of them lost to the other without putting up much of a fight. We are here to see them face off. You know, we're watching Group C because we got these big boys about to trade blows. And, you know, if the punches are just one way, that's not fun to watch, right? No one likes to see someone get beat up on. But
well, Rox, why don't you bring us through the bans that's happening and as well as their selection of Pokemon? Are there any changes from the previous
Well,
game?
I think, you know, we're looking at the bench right now. It's still the same. It's still the Absol, the Duraludon, the Lucario, and the Talonflame. I think still very typical picks for the side of Divinity. I think they really do not want to see Divinity Renaissance using like the Absol pick, right? So I think it seems like Divinity is kind of trying to adapt their team composition to the side of Renaissance now. Instead of the Gengar, we actually see someone that attacks from the back lines. We do have the Decidueye as well as the Gardevoir that we saw Kamiru use. So I think, you know, they are going to fight fire with fire. And let's just hope that, you know, they find a way to find good engages against Renaissance. And that's what we want to see in this game.
Let's go. I love me some Decidueye. I'll have you know, the past week, I've just been spamming this Pokemon in solo queue. It is so strong. The Spirit Shackle just does so much damage. And like RT said, they're gonna look to fight fire with fire here because they don't want to initiate anymore. They're just gonna start poking you right back, and it's a battle of the poke this time round.
Right, and for those of you guys watching Decidueye and you wanna, you know, learn from the pros, this is a good time to see how they play it out. Of course, let's go on straight to the game. Divinity versus Renaissance. Will we see a third game?
Yeah, so I mean, this is a quintessential piece of Singaporean Pokemon Unite, right? You wake up in the morning, this is your kaya toast when you're watching Pokemon Unite. This is what you expect. And Renaissance, they adapt quick and they opt for the Decidueye instead of something like a Lone Ninetales, which I mean, Decidueye definitely has been a big beneficiary of the buffs, right? After the recent patch, prior to that, you never see him. He's a troll pick, but now suddenly he's actually capable of dishing out so much damage.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting on the side of Divinity right now is that the Surya is the one in the jungle, but the routes is actually in lane. So that means the Gardevoir on the side of Renaissance will have the level advantage first, but it also means that the Surya on the side of Divinity will have that level 8 probably before the Beast, and that's where the sniping potential comes in with Spirit Shackle.
Yeah, I have a feeling that, like, for some reason, I don't know, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I have a feeling that this Writhe Gardevoir is gonna be a bit of a bait, right? They're gonna try and jump him, he's gonna drop a Fairy Singularity, and that's gonna set up for a perfect knock coming out from the Decidueye. We saw the Energy Amplifier coming out from him in the Pokemon Select screen also, so really gonna try and play off that Unite move. As you see early trades off, I mean, the reason why we don't see Gardevoir in lane is because he's just a notoriously weak laner as that Ralts, but they're still managing to hold their own here in this bot side.
Yeah, I think we really want to see this Decidueye pop off, and I think at this point we probably won't be able to see it yet because it is late. It's a late game scaling Pokemon. But at the same time they kind of wanna take the back. They want to attack from the back lines, and I think this is where like Renaissance can actually come in with the Venusaur. So they need to be very careful about the positioning of the CDI.
I mean, Artie, this game has been relatively quiet so far compared to the first. Remember, halfway through the first one, in the first 2 minutes already, they decided to take the lead. Maybe they heard us here though as the Spirit Shackle.
The Spirit Shackle!
First time of the game, baby. Pew pew! Sana in with the arrows, just gets straight in the back of the head. Nicely done. And this is exactly what you want to see from your Decidueye, right? As soon as you get that Spirit Shackle level up, you want to be making an impact on the map. And that's what he does. Sana just does it to perfection. Once again, the early flank maneuver going to the way. So this is definitely a player who knows where he needs to be. Even uses the Spirit Shackle to secure most of those bees. So very nicely done from him, allowing him to get Writhe up to that strong spot.
Yeah, but we can see the Curlier on the side of Renaissance, they are already level 8 as compared to Sana. Sana is only level 7. So they need to be a little bit more careful. Attack in from the back lines. It seems that both teams have already rotated down and are already going for this Dreadnought.
Okay, the Dreadnought's dropping low. We didn't get to see how that all played out, but they managed to grab it up on Yang. Running forward is this Ivysaur. No fear whatsoever, and that is one of the unfortunate weaknesses of the Decidueye, right? You can't actually afford to be so close in range to actually attack that objective. You're left to try and snipe it with the Spirit Shackle, and they sense that, they see the charge up, they just swoop it from right from under them, but they're not gonna go down without a fight here. Nah, just sniped him on the back line. This is exactly what the Decidueye pick was for. They're gonna eliminate the Koopa as well. And with those two psychic types down, they're gonna try and push forward. They are giving them a taste of their own medicine here, but can they administer the right dosage? Lace is dropping a little bit low. Yang on the front lines. There's the support and the shield, and there's the Fairy Singularity on the 3. Knocks them all out at once, and there's the Gardevoir effect. Kamiru showing, you want to pick my Pokemon? Let me show you how it's done, baby. Get out of my house. Just dunks it straight onto them, opens the tier 1. You take my goal, I'ma take yours. Deals it right back to them. You can't use my move. I taught you that. As Renaissance, they just show up in full force and they eliminate the side of Divinity.
That was a very strong showing from the side of Renaissance. I think Divinity did pretty well right there as well. We were able to get the snipe onto the Gardevoir, but unfortunately the fight lasted too long for them. And with the levels that Renaissance has, with the Unites that they had, they just took out the side of Divinity with ease right afterwards as well.
Yeah, Artie, you're not playing the Gardevoir here, but you definitely got future sight. You called it out since the start. The level difference in the Gardevoirs is gonna make the difference, and at the end of the day, the Fairy Singularity was the one that did them in. Renaissance now up 114 points to 0, and they're not done just yet. They're still pushing the issue that's just like game 1. They're just grabbing all the objectives. First Dreadnought, theirs. First Rotom, theirs as well. And KST is struggling a little bit to try and get his farm up on the Venusaur. Meanwhile, look at Yang. He's already all fully evolved.
Yep, I think we've been talking as well about this Venusaur going onto this Decidueye, and that was exactly what was happening just now. But I think what's also interesting is that the Venusaur on the side of Divinity has opted for the Solar Beam instead.
Okay, the Fairy Singularity, the Dreadnought fight's breaking out. The Fairy Singularity doesn't really land on
Oh.
anyone though, but they managed to get it with the Hyperspace Fury and the the Side Beam coming out to secure that for them. Now Divinity, they try to get out of this situation while they can. The Renaissance, they're surging forward, they're not happy with that steal. They're gonna punish it for the side of Divinity to the drop, but they answer right back with 2 of their own. So overall, even though they don't really get to convert this into any sort of point advantage, it's still a much needed fight win for the side of Divinity. They're not out of this just yet.
Yep, I think even though Renaissance has a apparent point lead right now, it's 2-1, 1-2. Okay, 12 points, but Divinity's levels have caught up with that of Renaissance, and if they take a good fight like this right now, ooh, that was really good, because now they do get some of the comeback EXP from getting that, and they also get the tier 1 gold.
Yeah, like we were saying, Yang, he's ramped up quite significantly. You wouldn't usually see a Fairy Singularity used out, but Riot recognizes the power of that Pokemon and just opts to eliminate him immediately, right? It doesn't matter that you only used it on one. You can farm it back up in time for the Zapdos fight, but now it gives them a bit of a better advantage positionally on the map, and it gets them up to levels as well. 11 across the board and 12 on that Venusaur now for the side of Divinity.
Yep, and it seems like both teams are kind of gathering, positioning themselves for the second Rotom that is going to appear soon. And Divinity, I think they're doing so much better this round with their rotations. They are kind of keeping track of the time and being there for these objectives that they want to contest. Ooh.
KST though, 50 into the bot side. They're not sure whether they want to portal down. The Lowland Ninetales goes out and they've started the Rotom. But here are the rest of Divinity. They're here to try and fend them off. There's a duel happening in the bot side, but it looks like Divinity, they're gonna get this one scot-free. Divinity, yeah, I mean Renaissance, they just grab it. Divinity don't want to deal with it. And Lace, he just gets a back cap, but I don't know whether letting that Rotom down was the play, but it didn't really seem like they had an alternative. Here comes the portal down to the bot side, straight for the Dreadnought as well. Renaissance once again showing supreme map control.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you caught it right there, but the Venusaur lost the 1v1 against the Alolan Ninetales just now.
Oh,
and Divinity, they can't reposition themselves for this fight at all. They have to kind of farm around the entire map where they can, get the levels that they need. The Venusaur is level 13, but the Gardevoir is still level 12, the Decidueye is still level 12, and Zapdos is going to be up in 15 seconds.
It was a good try from Divinity at the end of the day, right? They tried to throw a little bit of a curveball, like, okay, who's gonna portal down? And they tried to bank on KST. Like, KST, you gotta win this 1v1. Unfortunately, he doesn't. And here comes the... Okay, it's not final stretch just yet. Now it is. Here comes Zapdos. He's swooped down into the pit. Okay, the portal out just to get healed up. They want to keep sustained up against the burst from this Decidueye. The Spirit Shackle, they just can't touch Yang. They're trying to shoot it out. Knock Knock is there, but there's the Verdant Anger as well. He's just a barrier on the front lines. Wait, where's his support though? He's gonna drop. Where was the backup? But Fairy Singularity on the 3 again. Gets 2 down for now. And that Venusaur is down yet again. It looked like it was the bait play. We were like, yo, KST, where you going, my friend? But it was all a setup. Kamiru is the carry of this team, and he lines them up and knocks them down. They're gonna get this Zapdos for themselves. And Divinity, they definitely put up a lot more of a fight this time round, but I don't know whether it's gonna be enough, especially with all the goal zones opening up. They're gonna get these double dunks in real soon. Chani, okay, Chani's gonna get knocked out. If they can ward them off from the goal zones, this could still be winnable here. Rebounds in with 100, so that puts them up to 400 now. 1 minute left on the clock. I don't know whether the Ninetales can get out. He can't, but there's Yang making full use of the Zapdos duration and bumps their lead up to 500. It's a 300-point disparity. I don't know whether they can do this.
Well, I think, it really came down in that Zapdos fight to the positioning of Divinity. Once again, Renaissance had a very dominant positioning, and I think Divinity, they kind of tried to fight in the choke point, and that's not where you want to fight, especially when there's a Venusaur on the side of Renaissance. Because of that, Yang was just able to bring so many of the Pokemon down on the side of Divinity to such a low HP that Renaissance could just clear them out even though Yang went down.
Yeah, I mean, right now, they're trying to do what they can, right? They're trying to force push this in. 4-man unit in the top side. This is really their last resort here as the 15 seconds tick down. But they can't get... Cruiser, look at the points. Who are they on? They're on Rife and this Decidueye. These are not Pokemon that usually carry buddy barriers. They're gonna get a 10 score in. But it's these backliners that can't get the dunks because they need to run through the wall. And time is up. Tick-tock. Divinity, It's over. 2-0 for Renaissance. They sweep this right off their feet, coming out with a strat that frankly I haven't seen yet. And wow, what a strat it is. Kamiru really pulling his weight with the fairy singularities in those team fights, just making it happen.
Yeah, and not to mention Yang on that Venusaur, just finding all these angles to go in onto the fights and giving Kamiru the vision that he needs. And I think this is a really well-deserved MVP. On this victory screen right now, I think Renaissance just showed a very dominating performance in this first round of the LCL.
Yeah, that's for sure. Up almost 600 to 332, and even those last few points were just kind of made with Lays jumping in there with the thick health pool, right? And I mean, the first game, it all started going wrong at the bot side, right? Once fell push. I feel like Divinity, they once again just got out rotated on the map. They tried this new composition. They were like, we're gonna play you at your own game. We're gonna play you with the poke. And the Decidueye, it looked pretty good at some points in time, but they didn't stop Yang from ramping up. He's just like you said. He just ran straight into them. And once you get run at as a Decidueye, you have to make the choice. Do I ditch or do I do damage? That is basically your main damage dealer out of the picture. And just like that, like, look, so even though he did 66k, it's not like it just doesn't do enough. Like, there's so many times he's just forced to run, and I don't think it's like you need more support for that Decidueye if you want to run it. I don't think you can afford to go so greedy with these long range like Pokemon.
Yeah, and not to mention Renaissance just knowing that this Decidueye is going to be the main damage dealer, and getting Yang to just really go all the way in, find this Decidueye, bring him down first before taking out the entirety of Divinity side.
Yeah, he's like those robotic dogs, right? You give them a hand, and then they're like, get that Decidueye, and he just every single time he sees it, just target locked and it just straight runs in. Yeah, it's kind of crazy, but I mean, I'm sure, Divinity definitely did their practice or prepped for this match as well. But Renaissance, they really just had that target lock. They knew exactly what they needed to do. They executed it to perfection, and they 2-0 Side Divinity. What a sweep!
Right, and Mike actually kept talking about Kamiru or Yang being, a hard carry for Renaissance. But Rox, can you point out anyone from Divinity who you think was doing a very hard carry under End?
Well, I think I think on the side of Divinity, right, they did a very good change in terms of the team composition as a whole as well. Unfortunately, they were just unable to actually make the most use of the CDI. It didn't have enough protection, and I guess they kind of played it a little bit too passively, and because of that, they allowed Renaissance to kind of go in onto them, and it's kind of unfortunate for them. But I do think that all of the players on the side of Divinity did their best, and I'm pretty sure that we will still see a very nice showing from them as well.
Right, and we will actually see Divinity face off with Team Rocket in the next match. Mike, do you have any word of advice for them as they face off?
So I just want to say, Divinity, y'all got my respect. Y'all a good team. I respect y'all. Y'all pretty insane. Y'all top 3. But you kind of gotta be careful of Team Rocket. Team Rocket are not to be trifled with, okay? They're gonna come out and swoop it right under the hat once again, like, in true Team Rocket fashion. Sometimes they look like this evil mega corporation that can really just level cities, right? And then other times, Pikachu just shocks them once and they're blasting off again. That is the essence of Team Rocket right here. They are basically, up until recently, they've been mostly a local competition competing team, but they've managed to take down some of the big 3, and they make it look convincing. Like recently, Friday Night Unite, they won over Star 9 in the semi-finals to take the title. So this team, when they're feeling it, they can definitely pack a punch. And Divinity, they can't be reeling too hard after their loss. They're gonna have to regroup and try and come with a fresh mind towards this new adversary.
Right, and we are gonna talk more about that in the next match. But first, we are going for a quick break. So you guys, if you like watching Divinity and Renaissance, head on over to our partners, Pokemon Unite Singapore, in facebook.com/PokeUniteSG, and check them out, because these teams are teams to look out for. And we'll see you right after the break. And welcome back, trainers, to the Lion City League Pokemon Unite Qualifier number 2. We have seen Renaissance win Divinity in the previous match, but we have not seen the end of Divinity yet because we are going to see them battle it out with Team Rocket. And actually, Mike was saying that, Team Rocket can actually just take the win against any of the big threes in Pokemon Unite. Rox, let's hear your thoughts on this.
Well, I think, Team Rocket, they actually won the Friday night gaming last month against some of the top few teams in Singapore, right? So I think that's where Mike is coming from here. And I think we can really expect good games from them against Divinity as well as Renaissance. So I think we are in for a ride here, and I'm really excited to be watching and casting for these games.
Right, and actually, we hope that Divinity, they might just have had a short break, but we are actually rooting for them for this round. Mike, are you foreseeing any change in their strategy since now they are facing off with Team Rocket, or
100%. There's no way they bring something similar. I mean, mostly because the bans are going to change as well, right? The priority on the Pokemon is definitely going to change from matchup to matchup. I think we might still see a Absol Respect ban because Divinity, of course, they have rebounced the Absol King himself. But apart from that, I think some of the bans, most of the bans that we saw in the previous game make sense as well, right? The Duraludon, the Talonflame, the Lucario, the Absol is a specific ban, but these three prior Pokemon, these are Pokemon that have really been dominating the meta, and I wouldn't be surprised to see them repeated in a way here, but I really think Venusaur is going to be hot for contention as well.
Right. Yeah, Rox, you were going to say something.
Oh yes, actually I was going to say that, in the last Friday night gaming, Team Rocket came as the underdogs, but then now, Renaissance and Divinity definitely has respect for them, and they're going to play a bit more cautiously, and I think that might make or break like who will actually win this game.
Yeah, the big three overall are always Star 9, Renaissance, Divinity, right? And then Divinity and Renaissance, they're just sitting there watching Star 9 get beat up by Team Rocket. They're like, what is going on, guys? Like,
right?
what are y'all doing? Y'all okay? Like, y'all need some water?
But do you guys think that they have seen enough of Team Rocket to kind of foresee what strategies they'll bring to the table, Rox?
Well, I think, they definitely recognize that Team Rocket is someone that they need to play carefully with. But of course, they probably haven't played with them as much as they have with like the other top 3 teams that Permacy keeps talking about. And I think, you say that, these are the 3 top teams. But Team Rocket, they do stand a chance, They might actually break the power ladder a little bit. Maybe they get themselves to the top 3 as well,
Don't get me wrong. I'm a huge Team Rocket fan, man. They've been part of like the events that have been going on locally for a long time. I've been following them. They're truly committed to the craft. They're even cosplaying them to personality. Like every single one of these players are named after a Team Rocket member. Sometimes they're boom, sometimes they're bust. What else could you ask for? This is like I'm a big fan of the team. So I want to see them put up a good show.
Right. So what would you say for this team? Do you have any predictions, Rox, and who you think is going to take the win?
Well, I think Divinity, they're definitely going to pick the Pokemon that they are comfortable with, but of course it really depends on how much research Team Rocket has actually done. Are they going to ban, some of the Pokemon that Divinity always uses? Maybe the Venusaur ban this time. We saw in the first game how Venusaur played such a crucial role in both teams.
Oh,
And
it looks
That's
like you are right. Would you look at that? Take us through the bans, Rox.
oh, okay. Well, I mean, Venusaur ban sounds about right. Hoopa ban also sounds about right. maybe. Hoopa, we saw how, the rotations earlier in the game between Divinity and Renaissance played such a crucial role in Renaissance taking that victory. And it does make a lot of sense to actually be banning this right now. So you are forced to play with a lot more of that standard kind of rotations and more predictability, I assume. And it's interesting that Divinity has chosen to ban Serena and Dragonite for Team Rocket.
Yeah, well, definitely they were taking points from the previous game. They were probably watching while we were on a break. What about you, Mike? Looking at what the teams had selected for their Pokemons, is there any predictions here?
I feel like Alola Ninetales Eldegoss on both sides. That's pretty interesting. I want to see how those lanes pan out and how each team uses those 2 Pokemon. As that's what I'm gonna be looking at.
Right, Divinity and Team Rocket, let's get it going.
Okay, so big thing here. I mean, there's still some kind of composition differences, right, Arti?
Yeah, I think we are looking at like the jungle itself. We do have a Cinderace on the side of Divinity, but on the side of Team Rocket, they are opting for this Talonflame, and this Talonflame is going to be quite scary for the Cinderace if they manage to find an angle to Brave. But in area is that Cinderace needs to be very careful about where he is positioned, and Team Rocket, they need to make sure that they give enough vision for this Talonflame to actually get in onto the attackers on the side of Divinity. And I guess this is really where the team fights will kind of go towards and determine who actually takes the team fight, who actually wins this game.
Yeah, I think Team Rocket, with this Talonflame pick in the central area, they're really banking more on that, like, just flat impact burst damage coming out from that Pokemon, right? Whereas with a Cinderace, it's more consistent DPS over the course of the fight, as we see KST just gonna get run out. Yo, the whole Goon squad comes here to stop him from dunking there. What a answer back. As yeah, I mean, they managed to take out Lucario. That's pretty huge in a Lucario 1v1.
Yes, and I think top lane with both junglers there, this Talonflame is, they are positioned very aggressively as compared to the side of Divinity. So they're able to apply so much pressure, but Cinderace is coming back in.
KST's revenge, baby! He's not done! He's like, you want to 3v1 me? I'm gonna bring my own homies. Rife turns up to help the squad. This guy, we know he doesn't go down without a fight.
Yeah, and I think this is what we want to see, right? Both teams, early game, mid game, late game, just giving it their all, not giving up, even though they have taken the first loss.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so with all that chaos in the top side, the bot path at least has stabilized for Divinity, right? Jesby, Sana, and Laze, they've managed to really kind of secure themselves in a good position. They're all looking really good on the levels. They managed to deny Meowth. Still that Chansey just flopping around. Very sad at the current moment. And Jessie being zoned out from all this experience as well. Has the Aurora Veil to work with, but not enough HP. James swooping in to try and do whatever he can, but there's nothing.
Right this year as well. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, nice rotations coming out from this Cinderace from start to finish. We talked about how this Talonflame is going to be an issue, but it's not going to be a problem if you just knock him out during the early stages, right? He's going to do less and less, and they're not done just yet. They want to push the issue here because Dreadnought is not yet up. They want to clear... It still remains to be seen whether they want to open up this tier 1 yet. We've seen teams, different decisions. What do you think they're going to go for here? Or what do you think they're trying to do?
Well, I think, Cinderace is already level 9 on the side of Divinity, so Team Rocket, they definitely know that they aren't in place to actually contest for this, and it looks like they are actually going to go rotate upwards instead, get the other objective if objective is too hard for them to go for, and I think this makes a lot of sense, right? They have already broken up the tier 1, they probably can farm around, get a little bit more levels from the farm around the central area, and then maybe get this Rotom pushed in on tier 2, and kind of get back the EXP without having to contest against Divinity.
Oh, Coughing. It's a 1v1 Lucario duel, but Coughing managed to pick up that Eldegoss just now. KST trying to hold its own here. I mean, they do manage to get the Dreadnought relatively for free and a nice little 40 over dunk in the bot side. They grab the Rotom for themselves on the side of Team Rocket, and KST can't do much but watch and fall as James, he's been hanging around for too long, manages to swoop up that pesky Lucario.
Yeah, I think KST has been getting caught out a little bit too much in this game so far. He has been brought down a few times. He needs to be a bit more careful, especially when he's alone, because that's a really good time for this Talonflame to swoop in and get that knocked out as easily as just a snap of the finger.
I mean, James, running that goal getter allows him to apply some more pressure onto this bot tier 1 goal zone, as the map is starting to peter out a bit, as both teams, they farmed up most of the wild Pokemon, but Rife applying the pressure takes out the Eldegoss, and I feel like there's so much Eldegoss hate in this game. It's just the Eldegosses being picked off over and over, as, okay, Meowth trying to do what he can, but not a lot of HP to work with. The jump in, Flamesweep as well, just dodges out Rife with the boots. What the heck? He's just dancing on him right now. Coughing goes in, but once again, another juke out. This man just can't be touched at this moment. They're gonna touch Sana though. They're gonna push him really hard. Yeah, Sana, poor thing. Just the victim of all this chaos. Everyone's just like, oh, we can't kill you? Okay, we'll take down your Eldegoss. Look at Ikans as well, has the eject button out. It's really just Eldegoss hate season here, and Jessie needs to run away. They don't have the levels to fight this Cinderace right now. Level 12 already, making his headway towards that level 13.
We haven't seen Eldegoss a lot, especially with Hoopa coming into the meta right now. But with this Hoopa ban, we see it a little bit more. But it seems like still so much hate going on to this ball Pokemon, and it's just so sad to see.
Yeah, I mean KST once again, you know, he gets caught creeping up in that bot path alone, and Team Rocket punished him for coming up too far forward. Sana, no, get out. Okay, content crash, keeping them alive for now. But Ekans is gonna drop. Meowth, there's the Blitz Assistance, jumps over to Jesse, try to keep him healthy and fighting for now. But he's 3v1. He's not gonna survive this. Fire melts ice, and Rife is here to play. Coughing, he manages to clean up. I say clean up, but really he's the one getting wiped out. As Divinity, they're taking commanding lead of this game, and really it's just all the early rotations from Rife putting himself in such a good spot.
Yeah, you know, I think this pick by Team Rocket, right, the Talonflame, we've been talking about this Talonflame and the Cinderace, it's such a good pick, right? But they're just unable to have enough frontline to actually find where the Cinderace is, and even if they manage to find the Cinderace, the side of Divinity, they have everyone else protecting him, and they're just, Team Rocket just not able to bring the Cinderace down low enough to get him knocked out, and unfortunately because of that, it's very hard for them to take the team fights. So I think they really need to find a good way to engage, and that's only possible with the frontliners on the team, which is the Lucario as well as the Blissey. They need to scout out for the team and find a good angle for this Talonflame to get onto this rabbit.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing of all for me is it's clear Rife ate his breakfast today. He's just dancing on him right now. You know, he's just doing the jumping jacks, he's jumping through the hurdles. They try to dash at him. The Lucario coming in from one side, the Talon from the other. He just jumps on top of them and kicks him in the back of the head. And once again, grabs another KO, sends them back to base. And all this Talonflame can do, I mean, Talonflame really good at doing these back caps and these sneaky maneuvers with the move speed. But this is not the ideal situation for Team Rocket as they apply more pressure in this top side.
Yeah, and not to mention, you know, looking at the points, Divinity is also in the lead.
Oh.
And in terms of like, they finally managed to get the Cinderace. And this is huge for them. Oh, and now the Elder God.
Yeah, Sana's revenge is like, my turn to carry. It is, he takes down that Lucario. Yeah, you know, this is one of those support player moments, right? Where you just get so sick of dying, you're like, oh, okay, never mind, you don't help me out, never mind, you die, oh, sorry, cannot save you, and then you save yourself to get the kill. But that is Sana making it happen for his team. So a brief intermission for Team Rocket. They managed to take down that Cinderace sitting at that heavy level 14. But still, Sana manages to answer back. So it's a small win, but a win nonetheless. And 328 gold Aeos energy up to 154 now. Divinity are in a very firm lead as they're going to clean up this Dreadnought as well.
Yeah, it seems like Team Rocket doesn't want to contest them in team fights. They probably realize that Divinity has very strong ability to kind of make good choices during the team fights, and they are instead going to opt to position themselves earlier than Divinity for the Zapdos fight. And hopefully, as they do this, they will be able to find an angle into taking a good team fight against Divinity.
Yeah, I mean, when you think of Pokemon stealing objectives, it really always is someone like Dragonite or someone like this Talonflame, right? Coming in with the huge burst of damage, but coming in is Jespi, actually. Talonflame, I think he had to flame charge out of that situation, trying to get a sneaky dunk, and the Talonflame just gets melted. The bird gets his wings clipped, and now they're gonna be without their key player for 20 seconds. This is looking dicey for Team Rocket. They might just be blasting off from this game number one. As Zapdos dropping the half, there is no answer from them as they just get wiped off the map. A sneaky maneuver snuffed out by Divinity as they take no prisoners. They're just going in for the double downs.
Yeah, and I think this is definitely Divinity will be taking this into the game. And I think what we've seen so far is that, you know, whoever plays a little bit more actively, aggressively, tends to be the one to actually win the team fights. And we've seen that in both the games before this, between Divinity and Renaissance, when Renaissance kind of played a lot more dominantly as compared to Divinity, and this time Divinity against Team Rocket. And I think, you know, Team Rocket has a good team composition. They might want to stick to this for the next round, but they need to be able to find the engages that they need to get to the Divinity side and win the team fights and possibly some objectives and the game as well.
Yeah, I mean, this game is just about over as the points just reach insurmountable levels. They're throwing out the moves, but really, Team Rocket showing a lot of fighting spirit here, not surrendering just about yet. They're trying to give it their all and fight till the very end, which is a respectable move after all. But like you said, Arti, it really just came down to that early stage where the Talonflame just fell a bit too far behind.
Yep, definitely. So I think Team Rocket, they need to kind of figure out, you know, how else they could get this Talonflame online faster, or a frontliner, but it really depends. we will see what they actually choose to do in the game 2, and if it goes well, maybe we'll see a game 3.
Yeah, fingers crossed, right? Because so far we had 1-2-0. We definitely want to see more action-packed games like this one. But for now, it's gonna be Divinity taking game number 1 over Team Rocket in a commanding fashion. They got angry after that first loss. They're right back.
Yes, it seems like they have gotten back into the game. They're probably completely awake at this point already, and they're ready. They know Team Rocket. They have seen the plays before, and they are going to make sure that they are not going to lose to Team Rocket again this time.
Yeah, I mean they already saw one of the brothers fall, so they're like no, you're not gonna get us. And I mean we talked a lot about KST, right? Oh, he's caught out, but still managed to get so much done for himself considering the amount of attention Team Rocket actually put on trying to shut him down, right? Everywhere he showed up on the map, there were some Team Rocket members just bullying him away, but at the end of the day, he still managed to make so much impact happen in those fights. As I'm pretty curious about the damage numbers here, if we can go over to the final tab, because I'm pretty sure Rife was just running a truck through them.
Yep, 91k. Oh my. Yeah, he's definitely doing most of the damage. And like we said, Team Rocket just couldn't get into the zone to find this rabbit and just find the kill angle for it as well. So
yeah,
this is definitely what they wanted to look for.
Yeah, whoever's the Divinity manager needs to write his check right now, because he definitely deserves a pay raise or whatever, whatever they're getting compensated in. This man woke up, exercised, got ready for this, and just juked and jived his way to success here in this game number 1. But man, what a way to start off this series.
Right, and Divinity was actually just warming up in the previous match, and we see them right now. And Mike actually mentioned that the Team Rocket keeps engaging KST whenever they see him on the map. Rox, why do you think they should change their strategy? Should they focus on doing their objectives or keep going for those team fights?
Well, I think Team Rocket, they had a solid team composition, right? They could counter the Cinderace with the Talonflame, but just unable to find the right engages. I think they should recognize that their team comp is actually quite strong against what they have on the side of Divinity and play more aggressively. They were always kind of playing from behind a little bit there, and even when they kind of position themselves in the Zap pit, right? They kind of moved back when they saw that Divinity was actually going in on them, when they could actually be the ones engaging instead. Because I think we've seen in the first 2 rounds between the different teams, the aggressor is the one that kind of plays out a lot better, because then as the one that's playing a little bit more passively, you need to kind of respond to what is actually happening and what is kind of like being pushed towards you in your face in some sense.
Right. Actually, like what you said, they seem hesitant. It could be, I think, if I'm not wrong, this is the first time they're playing against Divinity. But now that they've seen how they played, I'm sure they will come up with a good response to this. Mike, what do you see in the next match? I'm sorry, rather the next game.
I think Team Rocket, it's like what Rock said, right? Like, they have a good strat. The thing I'm scared about, especially for teams that are not very experienced, right? A lot of the times when you lose the first match of a best of 3, you might feel somewhat pressured to switch things up. I agree with Rox completely. I don't think it was down to the composition, rather it was the execution. They need to find a way to get on top of Wraith specifically, because MJ, you were mentioning, they were focusing so much on KST, but that's not the guy you need to gun down. You need to gun down Wraith on this Cinderace, and I think that is what they should try and figure out, right?
Right. Basically, bring up the intensity and just stick to your strategy, and hopefully it will work out for the best. And we will, we're hoping to see a game 3 for this match. I'm not sure if they are actually ready for their...
I just think I just want to point out one thing real quick, specifically for Team Rocket. Like, I think that a lot of these times when Pokemon Unite, it's a 10-minute timer, right? So a lot of times what happens is that after you lose the Zap, you're like, oh man, this point is insurmountable. Let's just surrender. Let's call it quits. I actually respect what Team Rocket did. It was completely gone, but they didn't. And it's not just because of sportsmanship. It's because that time is actually crucial for you to talk about the game, right? You have that additional buffer time to be like, what went wrong? How, go back over this game while it's still fresh in our minds. What specific thing did you feel like go wrong? And those important team thoughts are the things that will help them realize the solution for the next match. A lot of times, if you just try and sever that game off, right? Yes, there's the benefit of, mental reset. But if you don't need a mental reset, it can be useful strategically, and let's see what they bring to the table in this game.
Yeah, basically they were regrouping during that time. All right, so we see their bans right now. Rocks.
Let's
Oh.
go.
Well, I guess Venusaur has not been banned this time. Instead, now we will see the Absol coming in. I think, wow, this is definitely going to be quite interesting because both teams look like they are actually going for some changes here and there.
Wait, Rox, I want to ask you, is there a reason why they're picking Absol specifically? Because we see Curiously missing, I mean, even because it was banned in the first match, but even the second, this second round, the first match, they didn't opt to pick up Absol. Does it have something to do with the fact that Lucario is banned?
Well, I think Lucario being banned whenever there's a ban is quite standard because, everybody has seen so much of this blue thing and they have had enough with it.
Yeah,
And so on the other hand, it's something that we see a lot in the Southeast Asian servers. I think it's really because it has a lot of potential in terms of mobility and as well as sniping potential for team fights as well. So initially, not to mention it scales very early in the game as well. It scales once at level 5 and once it does have that level lead, it's able to kind of snipe at Pokemons very easily.
Wow, yeah, and it seems like they really opted to surprise each other with a new team comp. Let's get on to Team Rocket and Divinity round 2.
Ati, I don't know about you. I know you're a Luca fan yourself, but I'm just rubbing my hands together because we're gonna get some top lane Absol action, baby.
Yes, this is actually something that we've been seeing a lot in the Southeast Asia servers because early in the game they do have a lot of damage potential from the Absol already with his skills, and yet also has mobility to kind of juke out of team fights if the jungle does kind of appear at the top lane, which we normally see as well. So maybe that's what they're trying to do, but it seems like it's a little bit of a different strategy because it's a 2-1-2 on the side of Team Rocket, but a 1-1-3 on Divinity's side.
Yeah, I mean, this strategy ends up working against them as they actually lose the Eldegoss on the top side to the Absol. So that's not what you want to happen. More Eldegoss hate coming out throughout this series. But I mean, yeah, what do you think of this? How do you feel about the Eldegoss actually going up? Because it doesn't really make sense to me at this current moment. I don't know why they're doing a 2-1-2 instead of a tri-lane at bot.
Yeah, personally, I think especially if your Eldegoss is taking a EXP share, it should be a 1-1-3 situation. But maybe Team Rocket just wasn't sure if Divinity was doing a 2-1-2 themselves, and they decided to send the Eldegoss at top. But unfortunately, that doesn't seem to be the right strategy at this point.
Okay, I do want to say though, okay, a nice little fight, the damage, the crit, this is exactly what you were talking about. He just auto-attacked him 3 times and he died on our screen. Like, I don't know where he went, but that is the power of the Absol right there as Coughing cleans him up.
Yeah, exactly. And I think with this early level lead, it's already level 6 as compared to and that's comparable to like the jungler on the side of Divinity side. And once Absol has that level lead, it's able to really do a lot of quick rotations down with his skill sets and just be able to poke down, especially onto the Talonflame, which is very squishy on the side of Divinity.
I feel like this is a bit of a carbon copy of the first match, even though we're seeing completely different strategies. Once again, Meowth and James, they're just being or rather, sorry, Jesse are just being forced out of this bot side by the 3-man unit of Divinity. I can't believe that this will bode well for them, can it?
Yeah, I think this really comes down to the 2-1-2 versus 1-1-3, right? If you're doing a 2v3 at bottom, it's definitely the side of the where there's 3 Pokemon that are able to kind of take the fights a little bit better, and they are able to play a bit more aggressively, take most of the last hits. That's what we're seeing now because Team Rocket's Vulpix and Chansey has not evolved yet.
Yeah, the whole point of this Alolan Vulpix is so you can get that level 4 power spike early on, but here comes Sana, swoops in, shows James how it's done from game number 1. That's how you get an early flank and maneuver off, my friend. Sana, he's been so on top of these maneuvers throughout this entire 3 games that we've seen him, and he's definitely not letting up now. So now with this pick off, they're gonna get nice positional advantage for this bot path and the Dreadnought coming right up.
Yeah, and it seems again Divinity is gonna go for this Dreadnought, while Team Rocket not entirely sure whether or not they want to contest this at all. I feel like they should be trying to farm elsewhere, maybe even in the enemy's jungle, because Divinity will definitely not be there. They will be at the objectives, and right now just hanging around, they're not gonna find a lot of EXP.
Yeah, I mean, at top side as well, KST actually manages to get the pick off onto the I think it was Coughing is his name. Yeah, Coughing on that Absol. And this is not looking good. Like, the one advantage for them is this top side, and they try to get the steal off, but they manage to secure it on the side of Divinity. Now full-on fight is breaking out. Aurora Veil keeping them nice and healthy. KST, he's dropping low. Right, can he do it? He's staying alive. The Giga Drain onto all of them. He's trying to run Turntail and run for now.
He can't go down.
Man,
Oh
this
my
guy
gosh.
just stood there and he drained them on a giga level, and he just took all their life, and they just two of them. That was a 2v5 essentially, and Sana he just cleans up, comes in, swoops in. He can't. He might tank this one. The flame sweep as well. The Rotom with the assist,
Oh,
and he gets
gets
the
all
dunk
of them.
in. Look at all the points on the ground. He can crack this wide open with a huge overdunk. Meanwhile, bot side, the action's not over as they clean up James on that Venusaur. Wraith is unstoppable from top to bottom. Coughing needs to be careful as well. He needs to get out of this situation. Slow smoke down, trying to defend the goal zone. 5 points left to break that one open, and you know Wraith, he's trying to crack that one with the 40. Doesn't have the score shield to work with. Meowth, they're dancing back and forth, in and out, trying to ward them off, but they can't hold a candle to Wraith on his Venusaur. There's a reason why he's been in that Venu jail for so long, and he's back in, but it's for Divinity's sake, as 224 to 104 now. Divinity firmly in control.
Yeah, they have a lot of presence around the entire map, getting all these dunks in and being able to get out because of the level differences and just being in the right groups, right? I mean, look at the Venusaur just now. It looked like Team Rocket could have gotten it, but it was just not possible to bring him down in a 2v5 situation.
Okay, they're trying to right now though, but they've collapsed straight into the death ball of Divinity. KST trying to answer back onto Meow, falling low is this Blissey, sorry, and Blissey is gonna drop Lays on the front lines as the Eldegoss. He's had enough, but they're gonna turn down from Verdant Anger. 3 on 3, right? Gets them all and just cleans up again. Sana's there with the swoop. Here comes the jumping from Coughing, trying to do what he can, take down the bird. The bird eject button straight back in just to put its paws on him. Team Rocket getting absolutely massacred right now as Meowth, he's gonna drop as well. And Wraith, my friends, on the Venusaur, what can you do?
Whoa, I mean, right now for Team Rocket, at the level difference is huge. The point difference as well. So they really need to stop trying to take fights that they can't win. They need to be finding EXP as much as they can, get the Venusaur up to level 13, and I think it's going to be really hard for them, but they need to find an angle to kill, to knock out one or two Pokemon on the side of Divinity, or they might not be able to come back into this game at all.
It's been so hard, right? Because Wraith, he's just been this wall for them. As Coughing has been trying to find the opening, but every time he jumps in, they just pick him off just like this. The focus band not gonna do enough against 4 members of Divinity as they pick off that Absol once again. And KST, he's gonna have the last laugh in this top side, getting the Rotom yet again. And just commanding fashion from Divinity. All 4 objectives so far on the map, all secured by them.
Yeah, and I think Team Rocket trying to find ways to get as much EXP as they can. Oh, it seems like the Absol will go down again, and the other Pokemon on the side of Team Rocket does manage to get a little bit more EXP from dunking at bottom, but even then they don't even have enough points to break the tier 1 goal zone of Divinity.
Yeah, now rotating to the bot side. I mean, 3 minutes left, 1 minute left until the final stretch, and their goal zones are almost all but broken. We're really struggling. 390 to 183, and it's looking bad in terms of the health as well. The Vines gonna grab up Meowth. He makes his way back to the tier 2 goal, but Wraith is right there with him. They need to be a bit careful though. They don't want to overextend at this pivotal moment, because if they get knocked out here, could severely dampen their chances at this Zap fight. They still have this commanding lead, so they don't want to throw it away here. They're jumping forward. There's the dunk from the Blissey with the shields up. Wraith, he just wipes down that Absol. Just disappears. Coughing. Where did he go? The shields are there and the flame. Oh, the jump in from Sana. So much damage. KST with the burst as well. And Wraith, he's just making that goal zone his own. He's just standing strong. And he's regenerating as much as the opponent. Venusaur on his own goal. Here comes Coughing. Finally trying to pick up the backline. Can he get Lays? No, the shields are there. Yup, this is how you know it's bad, when you can't even get the Eldegoss. That is a bad Absol day for you. As 2 minutes now, we're in the final stretch. Team Rocket, it's looking dire.
You can do it!
Yep, Divinity already has a favorable position in the Z pit, and Team Rocket kind of going in from choke point. That's not really what you want to be. That was exactly how they lost the first game, and no.
The sweep is there. So far, everyone's staying nice and healthy for now. But there's KST. Cleans up onto the lower Ninetales on the other side. The panel dance is actually lagging out the game. But it's gonna cause a chaos for Team Rocket as they just get booted straight out of this pit. Honestly, I don't know about you, Rox. I don't know if you saw that. I didn't, because the screen froze for me just from the pure amount of chaos that's happening on my screen. I blinked and Team Rocket were gone straight up into the sky.
Yep, they just blasted off just like that, and now Divinity is just kind of going in for all those goals. I think Team Rocket, they just couldn't find an angle in to this Talonflame and Venusaur Blissey combination, right? They kind of went in from the choke point, and I think that was the first mistake they made. Never go in from the choke point, especially when Wraith is on his Venusaur. He's gonna charge right at you, and he's gonna charge at your whole entire team.
They managed to get a pick off finally in the 50. You imagine you go 9 minutes never taking down this Pokemon, and then you take him down. You're like, yeah, guys, we did it. We got him. And we are also 500 points down, and we only have 40 seconds. So I guess we'll try and score on this tier 1 that's still up because we're just that far behind. This is going to be a nice overdunk though. If he gets this 50 in, that's a 100. I'm saying this as if it matters, but it really does not because 283 only. And KST, oh my gosh, don't tell me he gets He's just gonna nullify it. Yeah.
Off, exactly.
Yeah, he really is a banker. He's a counter. He's just measuring the skill. He's like, okay, 100, then another 100. The Counter Crash coming in. The Eldegoss keeping his team alive. Lays just right on top of the goal zone. And this is a defense and a half from Divinity. They chase out the side of Team Rocket and send them packing. Divinity, they show why they are called the Big Three after all. And they just absolutely stomp all over Team Rocket.
Yeah, I think really, not just that, right? I think it's really nice to be seeing that they are able to adapt to different bands as well, and I think that really shows that they are good at this game, but not just on a certain Pokemon, but with more Pokemon as well. And I'm really excited to see how it goes when the pick and ban phase actually comes into the Pokemon World Circuit.
Yeah, I just want, can we just cut straight to the damage? I just want to see the damage and the healing. What? Look at the healing! 50, he's done more healing than most of the players have even taken damage on the side of Team Rocket. He's 60k healing. That's usually what you see in like a game worth of damage. 160k damage done by Wraith. This Venusaur,
that's crazy, right?
Don't doubt the Venusaur. Somebody screenshot this and send it to, this is why he's in jail. This is why he's in jail. Keep him there, lock him up, handcuff him if you need to. You put this man on the Venusaur and he absolutely delivers.
Yeah, and this was why, the Venusaur ban should probably still have been there. You just don't want Wraith on Venusaur at all. And not to mention, we saw in the earlier games between Divinity and Renaissance, it's very hard for this Venusaur to take a 1v1, even against a Alolan Ninetales. But in this case, we see how it does so well against a group of Pokemon all clumped up together. And yeah, if you are up against a Venusaur, I honestly feel like the best Pokemon against it is a Slowbro. And maybe that's what we'll get to see in the next few games. We never know.
Yeah, I feel like we just have not seen Slowbro just of yet, right? Slowbro has been such a crucial Pokemon in many of these high-tier competitions just because of the amount of CC it can provide with the Surf and the single target Slow Beam just eliminating a Pokemon from the fight. But for now, I think, unfortunately, Team Rocket, they're the ones who get eliminated here in this 2-0 sweep. Divinity showing their power.
Right, and actually we saw Divinity lose in the first match, and now we see them victorious for this. That's actually the end for them today. But Team Rocket, like you guys mentioned, they managed to fight with one of the big trees in Friday night, and today they get to match up with Divinity. And you know what? This could be a learning point for them, especially in their future matches. Rox, what would you say? In the beginning, you said that they shouldn't have changed their team composition, but they changed it this time around. Which one do you think was the crucial mistake that they did for this game?
Honestly, I feel like the team comms were both okay on both sides. They had kind of counters onto the side of Divinity, but just once again, it really came down to the execution of and initiation of the team fights, and whether or not they chose to go in at the right timing. Because we did see a lot of the times where the Absol on the side of Team Rocket just keeps getting caught out, right, and just getting knocked out from there, and just not being able to get the levels that he needs to actually pop off, especially into the late game, especially at the Zapdos fight.
Right. And, in the next match after our break, we will see Renaissance versus Team Rocket. And I'm sure that, Team Rocket, even though they did not win this match, they're looking forward to match up again against another big three today. In the next match. So, actually, Mac, what are you foreseeing with this Renaissance versus Team Rocket?
someone. Okay,
Uh-huh,
I think we need to go to a break soon. Okay, because I need to call the dude on Team Rocket. I need to just pop him on Discord. I'm gonna be like, yo, where's the Team Rocket and FNG, baby? Where y'all doing? Do y'all eat breakfast? Y'all need me to send y'all like a nice little like a delivery of Grab food or something? Like what's going on, man? Like bring me that action. Show me that version of Team Rocket. It's gonna be hype as heck if
Right.
they beat Renaissance here, and there's 1-1 across the board, and then we need to go to tiebreakers. Yo.
That's
Mm,
actually what
that's-
makes Lion City League so great, you know, because it's players from every skill level getting to face off. And you know, like today we saw Team Rocket, and now we're gonna see them with Renaissance after the break. So, you know, Mike, do your thing. Call them up now, because we'll see you guys after the break. Welcome back, trainers, to the final match of the day in Lion City League Season 2 Pokemon Unite Qualifier number 2. Of course, we just saw Divinity versus Team Rocket in the previous round, with Team Divinity winning. And this time, we're gonna see Team Rocket face off with Renaissance. So let's look at the group standing that we have so far. If Team Rocket wins this, if Team Renaissance win this match, we will see them go to the elite placing tomorrow, and and Divinity going to Masters. Team Rocket will go to the Challenger. So today we're gonna see Renaissance versus Team Rocket. Rox, what are your thoughts for this team?
Well, it seems like you know, Renaissance won Divinity, Divinity won Team Rocket. I feel like there's kind of a trend here, but at the same time, I don't want to say it so soon because, you know, Team Rocket has done really well in some of the previous competitions as well. So maybe, you know, they just needed a little bit more time to warm up a little bit. Maybe just a slow start, and maybe they might actually find an angle. It might be a scissors, paper, stone kind of thing going on here. Who knows, right?
Right. I mean, like what you say, Team Rocket could just be warming up in the previous match. Mike, you were saying you were gonna call them up. What do you think is gonna happen for this round?
Okay, so I called them, and it turns out, right, that the Team Rocket players were actually playing with their eyes closed. So now I told them, hey, I know y'all want to be nice, but open your eyes, okay? Just show us what you got. So I'm pretty confident they got a bit more heat packed in them right now, and they're gonna try and bring it up against
All right.
Renaissance here as we get into the Pokemon Select screen.
Yep, and look at those bans. Rocks, what are your predictions for this bans and selection?
Well, I think, we are seeing that Team Rocket's having a very hard time with the Venusaur, and they have decided to bring that in. They have also decided on the Hoopa, but you know what that allows in? That allows them to have the Absol once again. And I think that's going to be very hard for Team Rocket unless they know how to kind of engage in the team fight. And right now, I think it's quite interesting to see Team Rocket opting for the Charizard, and I think that allows him to go to the back lines a little bit, maybe get the Duraludon, maybe the Absol as well. But once again, it really depends on how they engage in the team fight.
Right, and Mike, what would you say about what they chose as Pokemons?
I think one thing that stood out to me is that Pikachu, right? This is the first Pikachu that we're seeing today. It's
Yes.
a very clear choice from them. I think they have a game plan in mind. So I'm excited to see this. Now that they're playing with their eyes open, hopefully it'll be a bit more of a show.
Right, would you say, Rocks, that it would be different from how we see Team Rocket play against Divinity?
Well, of course there will be, because the teams are now different, and there are definitely a little bit of playstyle differences between the teams themselves, so they have to kind of adapt on the fly. And with that, we are really going into the game.
Right, Renaissance and Team Rocket, the final match of the day. Let's get into it.
Reebong's piloting this Duraludon been banned out or just completely evicted from the Pokemon pool this entire time. How do we feel about this Duraludon pick here on this board side? They're running a 2-2 even.
Yeah, it's very interesting to see like all the teams kind of rotating between the 1-1-3 and the 2-1-2s, and
Yeah.
kind of just making the other team guess what's actually going to happen, right? This bottom lane, I think this Pikachu, it's one of the early scaling Pokemons and able to apply a lot of pressure, has good last hit potential. And on the side, Renaissance with this Duraludon, I think they wanted to get online as soon as possible as well, so that it has access to all its moves that does a lot of burst damage as well. Both Pokemons are very squishy, so it really depends on like the other jungle Pokemon and how they engage in the team.
I mean, once again, this Absol versus Lucario matchup. I don't know how it's gonna pan out, but one is definitely more disruptive than the other. Kamiru, what he lacks in potential CC and just knockup, he brings in just pure damage. As they fight over the bees here, most of those seem to have gone over to Kamiru with that overwhelming amount of damage, and he's gonna be okay with that. Just go straight back to farming.
Yeah, and he's gonna go through the mid-central area first. I think this will give him a little bit more EXP instead of just if they actually just went back to the central area, jungle area. But other than that, not much actually happening right now. I think both teams are kind of looking towards the late game, especially with the Charizard on the side of Team Rocket and the Duraludon on the side of Renaissance.
I just want to ask, we talked a lot about this 1-1-3 and 2-1-2 kind of difference, right? Does this setup kind of influence the gameplay or what each of these teams want to do? Or is it just purely a split of experience?
Well, it definitely depends on the objective that you're kind of going for. I think a 1-1-3 will definitely prioritize the bottom lane. You want to get a good positioning, especially for the Dreadnought fight there. So a 2-1-2 gives it a little bit more balance. You kind of want to prioritize both lanes a little bit, give room for your Pokemon to actually get more even levels, and then kind of rotate down early for the Dreadnought fight.
Right, so it's less.
Yang.
Ooh, okay, Yang. He's starting to get cleaned up here. Kamiru and actually Yang and Kamiru and Channy, they actually had a pretty good advantage in this top side after taking down a 2 KO streak, but they get answered right back with the support. Team Rocket, the bot lane is finally actually doing it. Jesse and Meowth, they've had enough of being abused. They're fighting right back, and they're actually gonna get a favorable position for themselves with this Vespiquen and Combi spawn, securing most of that with a Surf and Electro Ball. So nice little kind of turn around for them in this bot side for these players.
Yeah, they really need to capitalize on this time right now, because the Duraludon has not online much yet since it's not level 9. And they kind of need to make sure that this Pikachu does as much as it can, because it goes early to mid game. But it seems like Renaissance are the ones that are going to take on this Dreadnought first. Ooh!
Oh,
Now
just
though.
ill the stuff. right on the beach. He's here to play, and he just sweeps that right from under them. That is not what you want to see. And there was that risk, right? I'm sure it was in the back of their minds, but they just weren't prepared for him to really come and do it to him. Charizard has popped that Unite move and is trying to do the damage onto them, but they're dipping in and out of their tier 1 and speed flux zone, and they're gonna get away scot-free. But still, big advantage now for Team Rocket in this bot side. It's traded out though. Renaissance, they get the Rotom in the top with the tag team duo of Yang and Kamiru, and they manage to apply some pressure to the tier 2 goal even.
Yeah, and I think Renaissance did a very good decision to kind of not try and take the fight at the tier 1 goal zone of the bottom lane, because that would give Team Rocket a little bit more EXP. I think the Charizard, like you said, wanted to use its Unite move but didn't find a really good angle in, and he just kept it there just in case, you know, and back away from that.
Ooh, they try to make a go into Coughing, but they run straight into the entire side of Team Rocket. The Unite move coming out from this Charizard, yet again, just burning them down. They managed to get a return kill with this Absol. Kamiru grabs the KO for himself, but James trying to do the damage. He's not a lot of HP to work with though, and the focus band popped as well. He has to back off as they have to relinquish the beast over, or do they? The Electro Ball finishes off that squishy Absol. No support sustain. The supports are on the other side of the map, and it still kind of ends up being relatively even so far. The score, as we hit this halfway mark in about 20 seconds, still maintaining some parity.
Yeah, and I think, you know, Team Rocket actually, once they picked up their core, I think they knew that they needed to get into this game, and they're taking the fight so much better. They are engaging with the Charizard Unite move, finding the right time to actually use that, backing off once, you know, it's gone, and also using the Pikachu to get the final last few kills at the top lane just now. And you know what? Things are looking better for them this time. Maybe they have what it takes to take this Dreadnought and maybe this game as well.
Okay. They're setting up here. The Blissey is in a good spot. The revolving runes are in. They want to jump straight onto Meowth, but the thunderstorm is rolling in, and they're doing damage. But the shields, they're just way too much. They just got stacked up to almost double, triple their all HP. And 2 down on the side of Team Rocket. They're looking at Jessie next. Knock her out. Coughing and James are the only ones left. They're trying to do the damage back on. Coughing jumps in, but jumps out again and gets knocked out. It's just James. It's just James left. They get the Dreadnought. They are starting to push onto this bot side. And James, he's trying to do what he can. He's trying to burn them away. And I think they're going to probably give up on this fight. I think the Unite move, Seismic Slam. And now this Charizard is really a force to be reckoned with. Has regened up quite a bit and is going to be able to deliver the hurt. Oh, I say that, but Kamiru just chops him down from the sky. Jesse, now without your Charizard, you're just a weak little Pikachu. And the surf back out is not going to deliver him to safety. What looked like could have been a nice turnaround for Team Rocket momentarily ends up disastrous in this bot path.
Yeah, Renaissance, I think they recognized that they had more Unite moves at the Dreadnought fight as compared to Team Rocket, since they did burn it at the Rotom fight just now. And because of that, I think even though they were clumped out in a not a great position, Renaissance does come back into the fight. And not just getting the Dreadnought, but taking the team fight as well. Now they are leading in terms of levels and in terms of points.
Yeah, I think the key thing for me is, Artia, I'm sure you saw this as well, Renaissance, they're putting so much emphasis on taking out that Slowbro.
Yes, we were talking a lot about this Slowbro and how it actually comes in, you know, take down like a single target on the side of Renaissance, and I think they recognize it. They have played so long since Season 1, they recognize that this Slowbro is a scary thing to fight against, and they want it out of the team fight as soon as possible.
Yeah, I mean, Meowth, he's had this amazing steal in the bot side for that first Dreadnought, but other than that, just has sort of been forced out of these fights early on. Even though he has the sustain behind him, they just chunk through his HP, and without that control, they can't really seem to take the fights here, as 45 seconds left until this final stretch. There'll be one more Dreadnought to fight for, as both teams, they start to gather around this bot area.
Well, it seems like the Lucario on Team Rocket is a little bit late to the party at bottom lane, and I'm not entirely sure if both teams want to actually go for this Dreadnought. They might just want to make sure that the other team doesn't have it at all. But actually, Team Rocket are the ones that will give it out for free, instead trying to get a favorable position for the Zed fight.
Yeah, I think this is ultimately smart, right? You don't want to waste too much of your ammo before the final fight. This is the part where it could all turn around. The tensions are high. They've been waiting here for a long time. Out they come. James throws out the flames on the ground. He's trying to burn them for now. I believe that Absol trying to get the jump onto Eldegoss. The Eldegoss has come from a weird spot and has to regroup with a team a long way around. The revolving rule just to keep them out. Nice little zoning tool for them. Yang as well. But there is the seismic slam. They've started the Zapdos. They're swooping in. Who is gonna get it? It's actually Renaissance who grab it. The shields once again stacked up on top of all of them. And 5 down on Team Rocket. They just get wiped out. Renaissance, they make it look easy as they just disintegrate the entire side of Team Rocket.
I think it was quite crazy, right? Team Rocket actually tried to get a favorable position first, but Renaissance, they kind of knew that they were there. Pressured them a little bit with a little bit of poke damage into the bushes that they were in, and Team Rocket just kind of went back from there. They kind of played from the back again, revealed their locations, and kind of allowed Renaissance to get a first start onto the Zapdos fight with the Unite move of Duraludon, and with that, you know, it's very easy for them to actually burst down the Zapdos, and burst down the Zapdos and the team is what Renaissance actually did.
I mean, 768 points now up to the 124 with this. Renaissance, if they take this win here, they'll be moving straight into the Elite Division. And Team Rocket, unfortunately, they could have really tried to shake things up by grabbing even one game or maybe even taking this upset, but they can't really seem to find any ground here in this game number 2, Ross.
Yeah, it does seem that, you know, once the team recognized that Team Rocket is actually a threat, they are a lot more careful with their gameplay, and it shows, right? It shows that they are ready to take this team on, take this team seriously, and I think that's what we've seen, right? This Slobo coming in with the slow beam right now, not gonna do much at all, and I guess we would, you know, we know the potential of this Slobo. You need to see it more if they choose to go for it again in the next round.
Yeah, I just feel so bad for Jesse and Meowth because I feel like this is the first match out of the 4 they played that they actually had a decent start to the lane, and then it just all falls into shambles, right? Because it all just crumbles around them. As the timer ticks down, we already know the answer to this story. It's gonna be Renaissance taking 2 commanding back-to-back 2-0s to advance themselves to the Elite Division. The Team Rocket, you know, unfortunately, this is the beautiful thing about this tournament, this format, right? Just because it doesn't mean you're out, you still get to play for prizes, you still get to play for points. And I mean, for them, they'll be going to the Challenger Division, but still a lot to play for tomorrow.
Yep, and now we are kind of looking at the scoreboard of both teams. And of course, Kamiru with the MVP doing so much in the team fight just now. And not just that, but actually scoring so much as well. You know, I think this team comp that they had was really strong, and I think Team Rocket couldn't find an angle in, even with the Charizard going for the backlines.
Yeah, I was so excited when I saw this composition. I'm like, yo, this Charizard's gonna do it to him. They brought out the Pikachu, and then we know exactly why Pikachu wasn't picked the entirety of the day. It just did not do. I mean, it had a good start, right? But it just feels like it couldn't follow through. I will say though, I don't know how much of it is a composition thing as compared to an execution thing, because it feels like Renaissance, they were just all over Team Rocket.
Well, I think the Pikachu and Slobo picks, honestly, I feel like it's a good choice against the team comp on the side of Renaissance. They have like the Pikachu pressuring in the early game, which is what we saw, right? But they just weren't able to translate that early game lead into the mid and late game.
Right. And actually, Mike, we still have another game with Team Rocket versus Renaissance.
Oh, do we?
We are not. Yeah, we are
Oh,
not.
I'm
yet.
just straight up lying, guys. I'm just straight up lying. Sorry about that. Team Rocket, my boys, I believe in you. Your eyes are out. Sorry, I was just trolling. Everybody, I'm just trolling. I'm lying on the internet. Sorry, everybody.
Right. Yeah. I mean, this is the best of 3. Renaissance.
Yeah. For some reason, I thought it was already game 2. That's how hopeless it looked. They kind of got to get it together, guys. Come on. Come
I
on,
mean,
man.
That
I
is
think you
the
need to call them
pattern.
again. You need to call them again.
Yeah, I
Give
need to
them
call
one
them
last
again.
call.
Hey,
No, I think this time around you're gonna call them and
Yeah.
say, "Hey guys, I'm sorry. Drinks on me. I'm gonna cheer you guys up."
yeah,
But I
okay,
mean,
no, my bad.
Thomas needs
No,
to
so-
buy you food.
Okay, wait. So you're telling me, MJ, what you're telling me is there still is a chance for it to be a reverse sweep,
Right.
which
Exactly.
would be absolutely insane way to end day number 1.
We have seen this same pattern with the first 2 matches, which is, whoever won the first game will win the second game. But, again, like you guys said, you guys saw Team Rocket fight in a Friday night game. So we hope to see that this time around, we're going to see a game 3 with Team Rocket versus Renaissance. We see that they're good at responding. They kind of, they're kind of holding up well in the first half of the game. But in the second half, Rox, what did you foresee they could have done better?
Well, I think, like what I said before, I think it really comes down to being able to make use of the lead that they had in the early game and translate it to the mid and late game. Because I think in that game that we saw, Renaissance did have a very late game scaling team composition, and they did kind of delay that a little bit, but unfortunately weren't able to translate it all the way, especially for the Duraludon, because the Duraludon ended up being the one to kind of like take charge in a lot of the team fights and initiating the Zapdos fight as well.
Right. And what about you, Mike? At first you said that they already lost, but there is a game too. Would you like to make up for it?
So I just want to say that specifically for that first game, right? I was really really impressed by Renaissance because I feel like they just kind of, it shows their experience, right? Because at that crucial moment when the Dreadnought comes up, if you're not fighting it, what else can you be doing on Team Rocket, right? You're obviously trying to find a bush to hide in to get a good position. So what do? Before the fight even starts, they're not starting Zapdos, they're not starting anything. They just throw out a revolving ruin, which means if you want to even walk into the fight, you're gonna have to walk past the flames. All these small things, right? In the moment when it's so hyped, when they're all jumping in, it's hard to notice these things. But like when you just can't mentally replay the fight, or if you clip it and then you watch it again, there's so many small, fine-tuned little moves that each of these teams make that is really what makes Pokemon Unite such a cool game to watch.
Right. Yeah, I mean, Rox was saying that whoever plays aggressively will win the game, but we do see that with Renaissance being very calculated in when they turn up the heat and when they should come in and out. Well, Rox, what would you say for this round two? Who do you think will win? The Team Rocket stand a chance against Renaissance?
Well, I think now that they have played one game against Renaissance, they know that, Renaissance cares about the very little things, and they need to be very careful of these things, like what Mike has said earlier, right? And I think, they are doing pretty good with the team composition. It really comes down to the decision making on the fly, and I think that's definitely something that's very hard across all kinds of mobile games as well. It's very pressurizing, especially when you have the back against the wall right now, and that's exactly where Team Rocket is right now, and they need to find the mental fortitude to kind of go into this game with the mentality that there's still an opportunity, there's still a chance for them to actually come back into this game, and that would be really really nice to watch.
Yeah, right? Not like me, don't give up so fast. I was like, it's over, oh man, no, Team Rocket, no. But...
Right, it is actually our first time seeing them play in LCL, and hopefully whatever they gain from here, they watch back their VODs, they're gonna play better in the next qualifiers. All right, so going back through what we've seen today so far, Divinity, Renaissance, and Team Rocket. Team Rocket currently is not in a good place, but like what Rock said, they might come back for this game number 2. Rox, you kind of talked about the bans that, I mean, we're waiting for the teams to bring up their bans, but what do you think? Do you think whatever the choice on the bans is for this game 2, do you think it will make a difference?
Well, I think Team Rocket is a little bit afraid of the Venusaur, but at the same time, fighting against the Absol and Duraludon, maybe they might want to reconsider who they ban. I think, with 2 bans on each side, there's still a lot of potential Pokemon in the roster that you can pick up on, and it really depends on which one you're just better at kind of playing against. So you have to know what your team likes to play, how your team plays, and how the other team plays as well. And I think that will come into play in terms of like what bans they finally decide on this time.
Yeah, so, okay, for me, I want to answer that question as well. So, Venusaur definitely has to be out, right? I think Lucario is out of the question as well because KST is just so strong on it. Now, what I want to see is the Slowbro again. I feel like the Slowbro has so much impact, but they didn't really play around him well enough, right? They need a comp that can kind of capitalize on what Melf is doing on that Pokemon, and I don't know what that will look like, but Team Rocket, that's the key Pokemon that I'm looking for them to use.
Right. I mean, there was a Slowbro and a Pikachu, like what you said. We've seen for the first time in this, in this game. Rox, do you think Mike said that Slowbro would have to stay, but what do you think about the Pikachu?
For the Pikachu, I think it's a pretty good choice, but then it does kill off mid to late game, so maybe they want to reconsider that, or at least if they are going to go for that again, they need to make sure that they they play a little bit more aggressively at the bottom lane, right? If it's a 2-1-2, make sure that the level lead that you have on the Pikachu is so much more than the Duraludon at bottom lane. I think we saw that, they had the lead initially, but then as a Dreadnought fight, the Duraludon did manage to get its level 7 before the Pikachu, and that's not what you want because Duraludon scales later and it does so much more once it reaches level 7 and level 9.
Right, and looks like okay. I thought we were gonna go straight to the Pikachu. Sorry, not Pikachu. Pokemon choices. Oh, okay. Here we
Your buffer,
are.
thank you. You summoned it for us, MJ. But off the bat, things are looking a little different. The Absol's coming out again. I don't know whether this is the adjustment that. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, maybe this.
not really. High enough,
Yeah.
but not really.
Yeah, so now James is opting to go for this double band choice specs, Gardevoir instead, right? How do you feel about this, Arti? I'm really having trouble placing because I don't like. If I had to go back to the drawing board, like the slow bro was such a key component for you, and then you take it out, it feels a bit odd to me.
Yeah, and not to mention they are going to opt for an episode of their own this time. Gardevoir, I really thought there was a lot of potential in that Slowbro pick. So we will have to see whether or not, this Absol Gardevoir combination on the side of Team Rocket does it for them, right? Maybe it's something that might surprise Renaissance. Maybe get a snipe on the Zapdos. We don't know until the game is actually there.
Right, Team Rocket is actually doing a risk play, just like what they did in the previous match, where they totally changed their team composition this time around. And of course, they don't have a Venusaur for this match. Rox, what do you think? Oh, okay. Looks like we're here. We're heading straight to Team Rocket versus Renaissance. Is this gonna be the last game of today?
Okay, so big thing for me here now is we're looking at him right now, right? James on this Gardevoir. The Fairy Singularity, Kamiru busted it out and just completely ruined like Divinity's day with it, right? Can he pull out these Fairy Singularities? Because the Vulpix, the Ninetales, the Duraludon, basically the entire unit of Renaissance apart from the Absol, they're gonna be this ball. So if he just tosses out and out, isn't it over?
Yeah, I think, if they do manage... Okay, so it really comes down to the positioning of Renaissance. Do they position themselves, clump up together for that Fairy Singularity, or are they aware that, this Gardevoir is going to use that already and kind of position themselves a little bit more sparsely so that, they can take the fight more separately and better?
Oh, they almost get the touch on the rebounds there. Nice little early pressure. That's what you want to see from the Vulpix early on. So much CC with the Freezers, but they're just going to walk away for now. Heal Pulse keeping them alive. So this is what you were saying, right, Arti? You want them to push this early advantage on the Duraludon.
Yeah, exactly. But it seems like Renaissance does have the advantage at bottom lane already. They have the Blissey, Duraludon's also level 4. Okay, we do have the level 4 onto Jessie and they can pressure it a little bit. But I think they need to be doing more. You don't want to be the same level as the side of Renaissance. You want to be higher level than them.
Okay, so I need your help with this as well because I'm still okay. Future Sight.
Oh!
The heal. Last moment, and now Ekans, the Gossifleur. No! Wait, Kamiru.
One more hit!
Taking lower. The Future Sight, you just can't touch him.
Time.
You can't touch him. Sorry, side shot. You can't touch him. Just barely. You see the line? It was clipping his tail, I'm sure. Wow, Kamiru really
It was
gets
like a
out.
1 pixel line.
Yeah, 1 pixel line, but coughing, he's gonna be able to. Okay. He's also on his own little great escape at the moment. He's gonna get out of that one. Ekan's there with the heals. Dasher, yep, no, he's fine.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, thank you.
Everything's
Yeah,
calm
these
now.
are a little bit of a close shave on all ends. Yeah, and just everyone's just falling low over everyone like Yeah, but I mean things kind of remaining pretty passive overall, right? And actually, I was gonna ask you before that all broke down. I still don't see the game plan from Team Rocket because when you pick this double duo support of Eldegoss as well as Blissey, a lot of the times I feel like, you're trying to buff someone, a hyper carry like a Venusaur, right? What are they trying to do with this support duo?
Yeah, that's definitely what people usually do. And I guess in this case where you have the Absol, you have the Gardevoir, you have the Alolan Ninetales, who are all very squishy Pokemons and also kind of range other than Absol, I think it's very hard for you to actually pinpoint who you should actually be guarding. But in this case, I think it's the Gardevoir that they want to make use of the most. As what they have said earlier, the Fairy Singularity counts for a lot in team fights, and I think that is where they kind of want to take the team fights from.
Yeah, speaking of team fight, there might be one brewing here on this bot side as Dreadnought about to be started. The Duraludon, like you say, crucially has hit that level 7, but they want to jump in immediately. That's the sustain, the Aurora Veil as well to keep him alive, but he's dropping low, and they got him. They got the Duraludon, and they're on to the next. Yang and that Blissey Fall as well, and now Team Rocket are back for revenge, baby. They grab the Dreadnought and they grab 4 KOs in this bot side. This is what we were waiting for. Sorry to count you out, guys. I was straight up. It was a reverse encouragement play, you know what I mean? You say like, oh, you know, y'all don't have it, and they're like, yeah, okay, we'll show you. And they show up.
And maybe that's what they need, right? They need the kind of underdog mentality to come back into this game. And that's what we're actually seeing right now. Just now, they just kind of cleared 4 Pokemon on the side of Renaissance just like that, get the Dreadnought, and they are also able to defend from this Rotom right now.
Yeah, I mean, Rotom, we always talk about these early Rotoms, right? They ain't... Quite frankly, who cares? Like, literally, they just put in Blissey up there just to hold that guy off for a little bit because it really doesn't threaten a lot. The main thing is you can push it into the tier 2 and open up the central. That's where it gets really scary in the final stretch, right? Because the second Rotom is gonna just eat right through. But for now, yeah, things just petering out as both teams just kind of wait for the next objectives to come online. Fighting over the bees at this current moment. Camille jumping in. Whoa, 1,000 damage crit! James is next on the chopping block. Very singularity. He's just gonna jump back. He actually pops back into it. It doesn't even matter. And this is the absolute effect, right? When you pick a squishy backliner like this, Kamiru's like, oh, that's my breakfast. Just eats him up.
Yeah, and not just that, I think, you know, what came into play right there was the levels that they have on this episode against like the Gardevoir as well. It is level 12 at this point. As compared to his other team, it's kind of a bit skewed, but this is what they're trying to go for, right? They want to make sure that this episode is the ultra carry on the side of Renaissance, and that's what they're going for, and that's what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, no better person, maybe except Rebounds, to put this Absol on the side of Renaissance. But man, he's doing it. Level 12. What an advantage for him in this moment. As Dreadnought coming up in 5 seconds. The teams, they want to fight for it. And we already see the game plan from Renaissance, right? They have that nice little ball with the shield and sustain along with the Aurora Veil. There's the revolving runes and it melts them. 2 down on the side of Rocket. The shields are out. The sustain is there. He can't. He's trying to keep Jesse alive, but Jesse is gonna drop KO'd, and the last member of James just gonna drop as well. James was supposed to be the savior. James was supposed to deliver, but he just can't do enough as they're gonna sweep Dreadnought and the fight for themselves.
Yep, I think that was not the fight Team Rocket was looking towards. I mean, they did use the fairy singularity onto Kamiru earlier before the Dreadnought fight, and because of that, they just don't really have that kind of initiation that they want to actually pick off the team. Take on the team fights on the side of Renaissance, and you know, maybe they shouldn't even have went for it, knowing that this episode, its eyes are on this Gardevoir.
Yeah, I mean, there's no shinier prize than that juicy Gardevoir, right? And we've seen James, he is the crux of the team. He's always placed on these carry positions, and we saw him show up in a big way on his Venusaur, but now with the Gardevoir, he has so much to worry about, especially against this really highly leveled Absol, right? And you know, they're gonna hold out the second Rotom. No damage done to their tier 1 gold. No energy managed to deposit in. But overall, it's still such a huge advantage for Renaissance.
Yeah, I think you know the cracks in the team composition on the side of Team Rocket is definitely starting to show. They don't have anyone to actually really protect this Gardevoir. They don't have a front liner other than the Absol, which is equally squishy. And with a team comp like Renaissance with the Duraludon busting them down, it's going to be very hard for Team Rocket.
Yang as well, he's trying to defend. There's the help. Okay, NT coming in. This is the Blissey Master right here, chasing them away with the slaps. Jesse forced to turn tail run. This is not a good look for a Alolan Ninetales, where you need to just run away from this pink terror just chasing you down. There is Rebounds to cut him off. And they managed to pick off 2 in this bot side when it looked like it could have been a bit of a push. And Renaissance, they really just have such a vice grip on this game.
Yeah, and not just that in terms of the levels, in terms of the points, but in terms of the map pressure that they are just everywhere just now in the bottom lane, in the mid lane, and they go for all these rotations, right? Maybe the Ninetales could have gotten out, but you know, Rebongs on the Duraludon just got in there so quickly, answered to that, and then did their own things afterwards. This experience is definitely showing they have a very good positioning in the Zapdos pit already. and are ready to take the team fight.
Key thing to watch out for, like we talked about, is this fairy singularity, but rebound straight out of the revolving ruin. Here comes the Unite move. It actually clips onto 3 and does a lot of damage. Is that enough for Team Rocket? Have they just done it here? They're starting to melt them. Team Rocket, is this the turnaround play? They managed to get, we were talking about it, the Gardevoir, and they do the Kamiru move back to him. What a sick turnaround there. They grab the Zapdos, and even though Renaissance, they've had such a commanding lead this entire game, now it's gonna turn completely over. It's Chani trying to do what he can to ward them off. But now look at those two supports. They're making a beeline. They're gonna capitalize on the Zapdos, just opening the gates for them. Yeah, they get both. Ekans as well grabs another 100. That's 400 points on the board. Now this is the important bit. They need to get out, and they need to get out unscathed. They're gonna drop 2, drop 3 at this moment unless Coughing can get out of this situation. Stealth Rock is the finisher. So 2 down left on Team Rocket, 1 for each side. The tier 2s are still up. So this is where Renaissance, they need to strike.
Yeah, and you know that team fight looks like Team Rocket was in the disadvantage coming in once again from the choke point, but because of that they forced Renaissance right in front of the choke point for that fairy singularity, and they managed to catch 3 Pokemon on the side of Renaissance, bring them down low enough for the episode, the Alola 90s to actually bring it down, and they do get the clear onto Renaissance, get the Zapdos fight as well, but it seems like right now Renaissance is going to push back on them.
They just eliminate the Gardevoir though. That's been the big problem, in the big thorn in their side. But here comes the Unite moves. They're back up online after that Zap fight, and now they're trying to push off the side of Renaissance. The HP is not there to work with. The sustain, they run them 3 down on the side. Can they make it 4? The final one, NT. Now this is Jesse's revenge. Straight back onto NT. You chase me back. I got you now, baby. Team Rocket, they've evened out the score. They're not out of this just yet. Forgive me for lying, guys. Team Rocket, they've just turned this one around.
What an amazing showcase from both teams. I think Renaissance did a very good push at the end, but unfortunately it just wasn't enough for them to actually dunk into the tier 3 goalpost. And with that awesome team fight that Team Rocket took in the Zap pit right there, they will be taking this victory, and we will be going to a game 3.
So I was like, you know, when the start of that fight, right, the guard about James, he was standing at that choke point, and I'm like,
yeah, I was like, no, this is not the right way.
Yeah. I'm like, in my head, I'm like, Artie is so not approving of this, but he finds the perfect catch onto 3, and even though that doesn't allow them to do the damage that they need at that moment, it just drags them all in and sets up for a perfect sweep through. And man, what an emphatic performance from them, and what a way to come back. This is gonna be a battle for the ages if they manage to turn it around here.
Yeah, and I think looking at the damage that they dealt, you know, both sides actually did so much. He actually did a lot of work right there. Even though he does get caught out a bit there, he does deal so much damage, 90,000 damage onto the side of Renaissance. And I think James, you know, 41k, but you know, it doesn't really matter about the damage when you land that fairy singularity that we saw right there. It really, you know, sometimes it really doesn't depend on the team fights that you take, but really whether or not you are able to get the Zapdos. And I think this game really showed that.
Yeah, it just they hung on till the end, right? They were losing out on all fronts. It was not looking too good for them, but they keep their cool. They're like, James is like, you know what? I'ma just do it to him. Drops it straight on top of their head. It's like, oh, all 5 of you are there. Have a black hole, and then they just all get swallowed up. And man, give me more Gardevoir. Why isn't Gardevoir picked more? This is insane.
Right. I mean, we've saw Renaissance. They've been winning all their games so far, and this is the first game that they're actually losing. And we have the reverse with Team Rocket. They've been losing all their games so far, and we finally see them win. In the beginning, we were kind of like, oh, you know, why did they do this? Such a, you know, drastic change in their team compositions and so on. But that is actually their game plan, which is the surprise element. And Renaissance was really caught off guard. Up to the last minute, we saw them get Zapdos, and, you know, they brought it up. So for this game 3, they've been reacting so well to Renaissance gameplay. Rox, have your thoughts changed since the previous round?
Well, I think looking at that second game, I actually felt that the team composition on Team Rocket could have been better. We didn't see, you know, the double support kind of working out that well on the Gardevoir. But like we've said in the first few games that we've been watching, right, it really comes down to how they initiate on the team fight. And this time they did manage to find that one fight at the Zapdos, and that was exactly what they needed to actually turn the entire game around.
Right. And would you say that, was it luck or was it really their plan all along?
I wouldn't go so far as to say it was part of the plan, but I think there definitely is an element of like preparation, right? Because when you pick the
Mm.
Gardevoir, that's exactly what you pick it for. And this entire team of Renaissance that they played in first game, we saw how it works out, right? Especially in that bot Dreadnought fight early on. As soon as the Duraludon gets jumped on, he gets an Aurora Veil on him. He gets both supports buffing him up. Meanwhile, Kamiro is just causing chaos in the backline. That's how they are supposed to play. But if you just drop a Fairy Singularity right in the middle, they all can't do anything, and that lines up a perfect shot for Coughing to just come in, grab his bowling ball, and go like, boom, strike, right? So I mean, I respect the plan. Once again, like we've been saying throughout this entire day, Team Rocket, unfortunately, they've been faltering in terms of the execution. But if you can execute like that when it counts, who even cares? You just give me a game 3, baby.
Right. In game three, my money is actually on Team Rocket.
That's good. That's good money right there.
Right.
That's good. That's good money. I don't know how many people are Team Rocket believers, but if you're Team Rocket believer, everyone give Team Rocket your energy. You gotta
Right.
get those copy pastas out.
Yeah, this is what Lion City League is all about, right? We see these people fighting against the big threes and, see them emerging victorious, even if it's just for one game so far. But we are looking optimistic for this next game. Rox, do you foresee any changes in their team composition, or are they going to stick to this?
Well, once again, I think maybe this time we will have a Gardevoir ban. It is the only game that Renaissance has lost this time, and maybe that's what they are kind of a little bit more careless with. I think this has happened before in other competitions, and they need to kind of break away from the curse that they have, right? Renaissance has this curse going on with them where they're always getting second place. We'll see whether or not it still happens in this game.
Yeah.
I'm
I
sure
mean,
Mike has some comments on that.
no. The thing is, if Team Rocket, here's the icky bit, right? If Team Rocket win this, it's gonna be 1-1 across the board. So we're gonna go down to the AOS Energy final score. Now, I specifically remember I was saying like, oh, not surrendering is the good play here. It might actually come back to bite them, because in that game that they didn't surrender, obviously, I believe it was Divinity managed to bank it all the way up to 900. So we need to
900, yeah.
revisit the scores again, but it could really just come down to like a whole condition that doesn't really reflect. I mean, the good thing about Lion City League is at the end of the day, all the teams get to move on to the second day, right? It's not like, oh, you lose and then you're out. So we're definitely gonna be seeing more of both of these teams. It's just it could get a little bit messy.
Right. I mean, if you guys are watching this and you think that I'm not good enough to play Pokemon Unite in this tournament, guys, this is Lion City League. Anyone can play, especially now that all our registrations are sponsored by Darren Stewart Academy. Guys, just go for it. Who knows? At the end of the day, you're here. You can have fun. Look at Team Rocket. They lost against Divinity, but then here they are, Viv Renaissance, actually having a chance to win against them. Rox, what about you? Like, what do you think we're gonna see for this next match? Which other bands do you think that they're gonna be choosing?
Well, I think we've seen this other Pokemon that has all constantly been banned in all the team fights so far. I think that's like the Lucario for sure. Yeah, everyone's just so bored of this Pokemon already. It's been there since season 1, and it's time for a bit of change. But I also think that Hoopa might also be banned again. Hoopa just has so much ability to just cause so much chaos with his rotations and with its support kind of capabilities and moveset. So I think it makes a lot of sense for Hoopa to actually be banned at this point.
Mike, I didn't get to ask you which team is your money on for this round?
What are you talking? Team Rocket all the way, I believe. No disrespect, of course. No disrespect to Renaissance. They pulled out a brilliant game, and they honestly played it brilliantly until the very last moment where they just got caught for a split second, right? So this is gonna be one to watch, because it's really the story of like, oh, deep down in your heart, I want Team Rocket to just show up.
Oh,
but I don't know whether it's gonna be, oh, Gardevoir ban.
This is our ban right now, Rox.
Yeah, it does seem that Renaissance has decided to ban this Gardevoir that caused so much trouble in that game just now. And you know what? It's funny now that the Lucario is actually not banned, but we aren't actually seeing a Lucario on both sides.
I think both teams remembering how strong Absol is. I don't know if you guys remember that game, but literally that entire early game was just the two taking turns to randomly pick off people from full HP. It was the worst. Like, and they're just like, yeah, I'm gonna just take you out.
Yeah.
And it seems like
And-
James is taking some time to actually think of which Pokemon he will choose.
Ooh,
Oh,
is
okay.
this? We
Okay.
haven't seen this at all.
It was banned. Yeah,
until
it was
now.
banned the entire time. They replaced the Gardevoir ban with they replaced the Dragonite ban with the Gardevoir ban. So it must have been targeted, and James opts to pick it up. Hyper Beam? Any Hyper Beam believers?
Yeah, it does seem that that might actually be the case. Dragonite is not something we've seen in LCL season 2 at all yet so far. So this would be like a nice touch to end it off, right? I think
Right.
Dragonite is a very late game scaling Pokemon. It has a lot of potential, especially with objective sniping. Maybe that's the answer to the Duraludon on the side of Renaissance.
And it's still anyone's game at this point. Renaissance, Team Rocket, we are rooting for you. Let's go.
So, Arti, we talked about, they don't really have a carry Pokemon to put the two supports focus on. Well, Dragonite's a pretty good choice, my friend. Like, the Hyper Beam's gonna decimate the ranks of Renaissance, especially since none of them are really quite that tanky.
Yeah, and I think Dragonite is definitely going to be a thorn onto the side of Renaissance, especially with the Epsilon and Duraludon, because it is kind of an all-rounder. It has a little bit more tankiness compared to the Gardevoir. It has a lot of burst damage as well, and that's what we want to see from the side of Team Rocket.
Rebound's
Ooh.
dropping a little low again. Jesse really feeling himself or rather herself, sorry. Gotta stay accurate to the characters. On this Alolan Vulpix, just really being able to force rebounds on this early stage. And this is what you talked about from the start, right? You want this early pressure from Team Rocket to capitalize on the Duraludon.
Yes, exactly. But it does seem like once again Renaissance does have the advantage in the bottom lane. They are already level 4 as compared to the 2 level 3 Pokemon on the side of Team Rocket, and that gives them a little bit of advantage for the bees. But this is still too early for us to say anything about the game.
Yeah, they're actually gonna duel in this top side. They actually grab Coughing. Oh, another swipe down. Ecan's gonna drop as well. If this Dragonite falls, it could really stunt the progression here. But
so
the final hit, Kamiru, the big winner of that, KO 3 of 3. And that is not what you want when you're up against an Absol. Against these speedsters, once they get a running lead, they're just gonna grab a mile with it.
Yeah, it looks like Team Rocket could have actually gotten to Kamiru, but it's not the case. Kamiru is now level 7 after getting 3 kills top lane, and he hasn't even taken any of the Pokemon in his central area yet.
Yeah, he's gonna go back to cleaning those up. He has some duties to do in the central area, but for now, that's still Renaissance. Like you said, it's a bit too early for them for us to say much about the state of the game. But Kamiru, he's gotta be feeling happy about that one.
Yeah, he's already level 8. That means that he might potentially get his level 9 before the Dreadnought fight, and that would be quite scary for Team Rocket, especially because he will have his Unite move. So Team Rocket might want to go towards the top lane for the Rotom instead, try and get EXP in other ways. I think that would be the better strategy for them.
Yeah, Coughing and Ecan's here trying to do what they can to bully out Yang. James is here as well, not fully evolved just yet, almost to that level 8. So surprised he's not trying to look for other wild Pokemon to eliminate, but he's cleared up most of that. And yeah, they're gonna grab this top side. They kind of left Yang straggling here, but there is the dash, and they pick off the Dragonair yet again. Ecan's looking to be next. The dash is a bit off the mark, but it doesn't matter because Kamiru's just right there behind you. Like, how can you outrun this Absol?
Well, initially I thought he would actually go for bottom lane, but I think he just saw 3 juicy Pokemon at the top lane and decided, you know what, I'm gonna rotate up and take them back. And now, they have such a dominant position. They just wrecked that Dreadnought in like a split second, going for the tier 1 goal. And Team Rocket, they have no answer to this right now. They are lower in levels, and they need to find as much as they can. Maybe get this Rotom, create enough space for them to get back into this game.
Oh damn, and they're even pushing towards the tier 2 as well. This is kind of what you expect, right? Because a lot of the times what happens after you lose or like take an unfavorable fight in the bot side, you're just like, okay, you know what, we're gonna give it up, right? But now these teams are playing at such a high level that they give it up beforehand, so they capitalize on it. Renaissance and dunk in, but now Renaissance capitalizing on their overextension on Team Rocket. Ecan's gonna get away with a sliver of HP. No, absolutely not. Duraludon finishes him off. Next one's onto Jesse. The shield is there. It's not enough to crit. Kamiru finishes him off. Coughing, trying to do a 1v1 Absol duel. Are the crits there? The stun out actually eliminates Kamiru. So that is gonna be a huge kill in terms of the comeback EXP for Coughing. Now up to 10, almost 11. So at the end of the day, they get the Rotom and they get a crucial pick off onto the opponent Absol, but it comes at quite a cost.
Yep, and honestly, Team Rocket, that was exactly what they needed to do. Find these 1v1 kills, get some EXP from there. But other than that, I think Team Rocket, they aren't taking the team fights all that well. They are a little bit separated, and it allows this episode to wreak havoc on their team.
Uh-oh, James dropping a little low. That's Draco Impact though. Held it to the last second and the buddy barrier keeps him alive. He's not scared of this Blissey at all. Just chomping down. Oh, actually kicking, stomping, hitting. Doesn't even matter. Just deals the damage and forces them back. That is an outraged Dragon Knight actually. He's just there and he's not happy at all. And he's gonna be able to get a little bit of a turnaround. Once again, this Absol, Kamiru had a wonderful start, but if he just keeps falling like this, could actually give it all away.
Yes, and I think, we've seen this before in the previous few games. Team Rocket does use their Unite move a bit before this Dreadnought, and this time they decide not to contest, and I think this is a great decision on their part. Get the kills with the Unite move, don't contest the Dreadnought, and just try and do other stuff around the map. Don't get Renaissance any more EXP from getting any of the knockout on them.
Yeah, actually, wow, look at this backcap maneuver. The Dragon Knight and the Elder Gods actually going straight in for the bottom over dunk. Not by quite a lot, but it's still a significant margin to get them back up to parity here. 262 to 224 is our score at the moment. Meowth found himself a Kamiru in this... Oh, the dash straight into the wall. There's the chase though, but the Absol is there. Okay, the Unite move coming out from Kamiru, committed to try and finish him off. The answer is there from Coughing. The shields, are they enough? Crocodile Crash keeping him alive. The stun is there. Coughing, he's caught in no man's land and he's gonna get caught out and KO'd. Now Jesse trying to do what he can to deal the damage. James is stomping all over Yang here, but can't seem to do enough for now. The shields just continuously keeping him alive. And okay, the Aurora Veil as well, but now James is laying in. It's okay. I mean, he's starting to do it here. The Dragon Knight, is this why it was banned? Kamiru forced to turn tail and flee, and at the end of the day, it was just James and Kamiru taking turns knocking out their opponents, and James comes out on top and secures this Rotom for his team.
Yeah, and I think, we are seeing this now, right? The Dragon Knight and the Blissey combination. Because of Outrage, once you use it finish, there is a self-damaging kind of skill. So with this Blissey and the Safeguard, he's able to kind of remove it entirely from James whenever they are together. And I guess this is where they are trying to go in from, because Outrage does so much damage. It looked like he was going to go down in that team fight just now, but he instead manages to find a few on the side of Renaissance because of that. And now, the level differences, it's quite even across the entire two teams. Renaissance does have an advantage a little bit in terms of the points, but other than that, Team Rocket, it looks like they're in a good position to actually contest Renaissance in this game.
Yeah, I think it's definitely not over. They're gonna get the third Dreadnought for themselves, so really nicely played from Renaissance to secure all of these chunks of EXP and shields for themselves. But this is the counter move. This is dunk in. They have the move speed from their Elder Gods and they break open the top. This could be huge if they grab the Rotom. I don't know whether it's gonna be up in time, but they're all gonna back off and reset for this final fight. Absol and Elder Gods still sticking around the area. It looks like they're going for a bit of a flank maneuver. Currently, as of this very moment, Team Rocket is in the lead, but all that is going to change in just about 20 seconds.
Yep, and Renaissance knows this, right? They are already positioning themselves into the Zapdos pit, and I think what they're going to do is start it immediately, like what they have done before. Duraludon has a lot of last hit potential, and I think they are pretty confident in terms of the thresholds. So Team Rocket, they are not gathered yet. They need to be ready for this, because Zapdos is coming in 1 second time.
Yeah, they've grouped up. They've jumped in already. The Royal on top. Draco Impact is down and James is stomping all over them. There's Meowth with the follow-up, trying to keep his Dragon Knight alive. But there is the KOs coming out. They're starting to melt the side of Team Rocket. This is not the fight that they were looking for. And just like that, I feel like they didn't even have a chance. Renaissance, we were talking about how, they were making it close. Team Rocket, they were keeping up. But in an instant, they just get swept away. What happened?
Well, Team Rocket once again went in from the choke point, got found out with Renaissance already in position for the Zap pit. They took the fight so well, especially with Duraludon and Ninetales giving in some AoE damage onto Team Rocket, and Team Rocket just kind of went off so quickly.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not gonna lie. My heart hurts a little bit for how hard it crumbled. It looked like they were setting up, but like you said, ever since way before the 2-minute mark, Renaissance were already set up right in the center of the pit, and Team Rocket, they just didn't find that advantage. They were a bit split up, and as soon as Renaissance saw the crack in the armor, they struck hard and they struck fast. and James, as much as he tried, he just could not do enough damage to turn the tide around.
Yep, I think that was exactly what happened, and now I guess even with 40 seconds, they are kind of trying to push in a little bit, but it's not going to be enough for them to actually get in another 500 dunks with 30 seconds left.
Yeah, I mean, they're gonna have to make a really insane maneuver here. I don't know how many of them have buddy barriers, but it's gonna be tough against the full team of Renaissance. They're still trying to put up a fight here. Here comes Dragonite in with the jumps, the slow smoke over their heads. There is the Unite move from both the Blissey as well as, or not the Blissey, sorry, the Eldegoss as well as the Ninetales. The Revolving Rune answer, chasing them away now. James falling a little low. Where's the backup? They can't get any dunks in. 10 seconds left. Eldegoss down. James looking to fall next. The shield is there momentarily, but Blissey trying to get the dunk in. Can they cut through the shields? Yes, they can. Fall down. Final member is Jessie, and she drops. They've been blasted off. Renaissance, they take this one 2-1, sorry, for real this time. There's no actual fourth game. Rocket don't have a chance anymore. This is over. Rocket are unfortunately, they've lost this series.
Yeah, and I think, it's a 2-0, not 2-0, but 2-1 victory for the side of Renaissance, but Team Rocket, they will still be playing tomorrow, and they still have a chance to actually, get a good placing in the division and also win some cash prizes for themselves.
I think the biggest thing of all is just how fast you adapt, right? That's been the theme of this entire series of matches that we watched so far. They instantly ban out the Gardevoir after realizing, oh, it's too much of a wrench in our plans, and just like that, Team Rocket, they try and adjust with the Dragonite, but this is one of the weaknesses of the Outrage build, right? You do a lot of consistent damage over time, but it doesn't have the sheer punch, doesn't have the sheer power of a Hyper Beam. A Hyper Beam could really just cut them out there, but they just couldn't ever make it happen.
Yep, I think they kind of had a good angle there. The team composition that Team Rocket kind of showed was very refreshing. And I think, just unfortunately, they just couldn't find a good angle into the team fights. And I think that is really what I think Team Rocket kind of needs to work on, like we've been saying in the past few games. Other than that, they actually did such a great job going against like the top 3 teams in Singapore right now, and they're actually getting to win one game from Renaissance.
This is like and this is not an understatement. This is the group of death. Like, this is the most probably the most competitive, because a lot of the times, whenever there's a group with Renaissance or Divinity showing up, then that's where people kind of scratch their heads. They're like, oh man, they're gonna knock each other out. But with this format that we have, they all get to play group stages, but this is evenly matched. Like, Team Rocket, even though they end up losing both their series, they still bring the heat.
Right, and they did not disappoint. They definitely delivered on that content. We were all at the edge of our seats with this Team Rocket again. So guys, like what I mentioned, and whatever the rest of the cast is mentioning, Lion City League, the format is so good because we are all playing fair here, and tomorrow we are gonna see Team Renaissance in the Elite Division, and Masters we're gonna see Divinity, we're gonna see for the Challenger we're gonna see Team Rocket. Rox, which one would you say is your favorite match of the day?
The favorite match of the day, I think honestly the game that Team Rocket won Renaissance was amazing, because we actually got to see a third game from that, and not just that, but the fairy singularity was just so well played in that game. I think Renaissance didn't see that coming, and it really got to them.
Right. I mean, in qualifier number 1, we saw NSV, we're kind of unknown, rising above, fighting against one of the top 3. And this time around, it was Team Rocket that we're seeing fight against the big 3. All right, here we have the group standing. So today we saw the Renaissance versus Divinity. It was Renaissance who won. Then Divinity and Team Rocket, it was Divinity who won. And for this final match that was so intense, Team Rocket, almost won, but Renaissance still took the win. Yes, so obviously we will be seeing them tomorrow in their respective divisions, fighting it out and battling it out. Of course, as what I mentioned, all of the people who sign up for Lion City League, all the competitors, their names will be put into the lucky draw for the Prism Plus gaming monitor, which will be announced in our championships on June. Mike, I didn't get to ask you, which one was your favorite match of the day?
Oh, I gotta say the Divinity Renaissance match. There's some peak Singapore Pokemon Unite right there.
Yeah, definitely.
Especially the two Gardevoirs going against each other, like throwing fairy singularities out. It's just a matter of who lands the highest impact Unite move, right? And man, that did not disappoint. The Gardevoirs make for insane team fights, guys.
Right, exactly. And actually, guys, tomorrow, don't miss the matches that we're gonna have. It's gonna be the knockout stage with the elite going against all the elite, the masters against the masters, and all the challengers against each other. All
Yeah,
right.
so
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
the
Sorry,
other
Mike.
the other groups, right? We didn't get to see them, but this is not very unexpected, right? Star 9, 2-0 over the. I mean, like we said, big three, solid team all around. Here for the free gift. I mean, contrary to their name, they actually take a win, so they'll be getting way more than just a free gift.
Have
here
you
in the-
guys actually met this team before, Rocks?
Well, yeah, this is actually pretty cool, right? Because here for the free gift, they are actually made out of contestants who join the telematch as well as the organizers themselves. So it's very nice to see, some cross pollination a little bit here, and that they are kind of like trying to support the community, support the Pokemon Unite scene in Singapore, and this is something that we really like to see at Lion City League.
Right. And of course, we're gonna see them at Masters with the Royal Flush being in the Challenger. All right.
Yeah, I mean, it's really cool to see
All
that
right.
Star 9. I mean, nobody expected anything other than Star 9 being at the top, right? But Group B,
Oh,
okay, we got
wow.
a three-way tie here. I mean, honestly speaking, I think the groups this time round, apart from Group A, I think we managed to get a pretty balanced like role here because the group that we casted, Group C, all of them are high caliber teams, right? Like really, they can go toe to toe. And then Snakes, Pokeballers, and Kimochi,
This
you
is
know,
interesting.
yeah, they're all the one word I'll use to describe them is they're very interesting teams, right? Kimochi, they have a fire lit under them at all times. Pokeballers, they're always trying the strats. And Snakes, of course, they're a bit of a community team, but of course nothing to be just like sneezed at, right? So all these teams going 1-1 is like kind of a fitting way to see this group pan out.
Right, and they're still calculating by the EOS energy who will be the people placing on the elite, masters, and challengers. Of course, like what we saw today in the first three matches: Renaissance, Divinity, Team Rocket, and Renaissance. We already know their standing, and hopefully, like what you guys said, with Snacks, Pokeballers, and Kimochi, they're still calculating who will be in their respective divisions. Rox, do you have any insights into that?
Not at the moment because we were so focused on the games in Group C that we didn't manage to see the other groupings, and so let's just wait for production to actually kind of calculate the points that they have. And we do have Group D as well. The results are in. It does seem that Pokepuff
Whoa.
Girls actually did manage to win NSV here. So Pokepuff Girls will be going into the Elite Division, while NSV will be going into the Masters.
Pog,
Right.
they looks like they got a bit of that chemical X, man. They managed to like they don't look deadly, but when they got that in on their side, they take out NSV, who were the team that we were saying, stood up to the big three the previous time round. They unfortunately can't stand up to the Pokepuff Girls though. As we're gonna glance back straight at Group B. Actually, one thing I want to mention is that I think it's pretty interesting that Renaissance. Since we focus so much on Group C, I'm just gonna talk about it again. Could this be, for lack of a better word, a renaissance for Renaissance? Because they spent so long cursed, right? And then after winning March finals of the official regionals, by the way, suddenly they're
Oh.
coming in and they're punching the big tickets for themselves, right? They finished top of their group. There were a few moments where it looked a bit shaky, but overall it just was close to perfect play and team play and adaptation from them all around. And Renaissance, they've really come into their own here, and this could be a new age.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe they have really broken the curse. They have broken it since the March finals, and yeah, I think we can expect a lot of good games tomorrow.
And yeah, tomorrow we're gonna see the elite people battle it out. If I'm not wrong, that would be Renaissance. I forgot the Group A's people who are in elite. All right, Star 9. Yes, these people, we're gonna see them battle it out for the champion, for 10 points, 10 LCL points that would lead up to them qualifying for the finals in June. And of course, there's $200 prize for them as well. Yes, and we're gonna have the offline event on June, guys. Do watch out for that. And for those who have been watching LCL, you've been wanting to try it, but you're kind of hesitant, guys. We have seen Team Rocket and other teams like Pokepuff Girls just joining in for these qualifiers and still standing a chance against these teams that we know so well in the community. So do head on over to our socials. We're on Twitter, we're on Twitch, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram. Lion City League, sign up, wait for those dates. Pokemon Unite is in the third week of May. And like what I mentioned, if you guys just by signing up, you can win a Prism Plus gaming monitor, which will be announced in June.
Yeah, I mean, apart from that, right, like, we saw the brackets and the not the brackets, but the formula and the prize pool. You might be thinking, okay, so now it's qualifier number 2, I didn't get to sign up. Even if I get to qualifier number 3, there's no way I'm gonna be top 8. It doesn't matter. This beautiful format has prizes for all of you just by participating, and now it's completely free to join thanks to Darren Stewart Academy. So shout out to them. You just sign up for free, you stand a chance to win, you get to play Pokemon Unite over a nice weekend, you get to face off against some of Singapore's finest. What's there not to love? It's just a nice thing all around. So even for those of you who might be thinking, oh, I can't make it to the offline event, what's stopping you from just coming down and enjoying it anyway? What's stopping you from putting your hat in the ring to give it a go, right? Why not?
Right.
Just grab your friends, round them up.
Yeah, guys, it's $600 for each qualifier. It's not even the finals yet, guys.
Yeah.
So, what's stopping you? And again, like what I said, the Prism Plus monitor, shout out to Prism Plus for giving us that. Rox, what are your say for this Lion City League?
Well, I think I really enjoy the format a lot. I think it really attracts all pros and casuals alike, and I think that's what we love to see, right? We want to see this community grow, and Lion City League with its format is just doing exactly that for us.
Right. And all of these official partners, Pokemon Unite Singapore, Darren Stewart Academy, they are all for community. They're all for giving everyone a chance, regardless of your caliber in playing these games. Guys, if you really enjoy this, you can follow Rox and Permasneeze on their Twitch and Instagram in the following socials. Guys, any last word, Mike?
Nah, I'm just waiting for tomorrow. Tomorrow's gonna be insane. We casted 3 matches today, and all 3 matches were bangers, and tomorrow's just gonna be more bangers. And like the Lion City League, just track record of making good matches come out. So I'm excited for that. I hope everyone watching is too, and I hope you guys had a good time. And yeah, apart from that, I'm just excited for tomorrow.
Right, Rox, what are your final thoughts?
Yeah, I agree entirely with Mike. I think, we had a very nice showing of games today, and I think we can only expect even more exciting games tomorrow as well.
Right. I wonder what is in store for us. What will surprise us tomorrow? So without further ado, guys, we'll see you guys tomorrow.